later Sunday through into Monday. For the time being, though, there are still going to be some spells of rain out there, particularly across parts of East Anglia, southeast England. Now, this will eventually clear away, allowing some drier spells of weather, soon being replaced, though, by some very blustery showers. At first, pushing into Northern Ireland and spreading eastwards into western areas of the country by the time we reach Sunday. So a very wet and windy start here, but for many areas in the east, mostly dry, though there is going to be plenty of cloud around, and it's still going to be quite a chilly start to the second half of the weekend. But largely frost-free. That's away from the far north of Scotland, though. More clear skies here, so it's likely there'll be a frosty start, possibly some icy patches. Mostly dry, though some showery outbreaks around the Northern Isles. But for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern parts of England, a very wet start, some quite heavy downpours at times, and similar around any eastern areas of England too. Some clearer skies across Wales and the southwest and eventually into central parts of England, but still some quite blustery showers here. Longer spells of rain eventually pushing into Northern Ireland and pushing northwards into Scotland, though we could start to see some sunshine by the afternoon, particularly across central areas of England and Wales, but once again can't rule out some showers. Not feeling quite as cold as it did last week, but in brisk winds, definitely feeling chilly, highs reaching between 10 to 12 degrees Celsius across parts of the south. Into Monday, it is going to be another cold start, a return of the brisk northerly winds, which is going to make things feel that little bit chillier. Still some showers, but once again mainly around exposed coasts, so many inland areas will see some sunshine, and lots of sunshine across the country on Tuesday too, but feeling cold once again with some overnight frost likely, and feeling cold during the day as well.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, more kite flying by the Treasury. Rachel Reeves is now set to scrap a benefit cap but pledge some reforms in it. I'm going to tell you what that benefit is in just a few moments' time. The Prime Minister's made a very rare intervention again and now called for Prince Andrew, formerly Prince Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, to testify in Congress. That and loads more to dig into on your front pages, including fat jabs for RAF pilots. We'll see you shortly.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's economy is at a crossroads.
And this budget day, every decision counts.
From taxes and rent to the cost of living.
Whatever the outcome, the GB News family will be there
with expert analysis breaking down what it means for you.
Budget day, all day Wednesday,
only here on the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, it's 11 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight's Late Edition. Well, we start off with Sir Keir Starmer piling up the pressure on formerly Prince Andrew to give evidence on Epstein to the United States.
What we're all trying to achieve here is a just and lasting peace.
Crisis talks among world leaders over ending the war in Ukraine.
I would like to get the peace. It should have happened a long time ago. The Ukraine war with Russia should have never happened. If I were president, it never would have happened. We're trying to get it ended.
Yes, President Trump confirms the Ukraine deal may not be his final offer, and
my job to deal with the world as we find it, not the world that I might wish it to be.
Nobody seems to know what on earth is going on with this budget. Is it the leakiest ever? Because more details about the Chancellor's upcoming Wednesday budget are hitting the front pages tonight. Also on a front page of the Daily Express, safety fears over fat jabs for RAF pilots as defence chiefs demand a review. What on earth is going on? And joining me to make sense of all the madness this evening, reality TV star AJ Pritchard, the journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov, and GB News contributor and comedian Stephen N. Allen. Let's crack on with those front pages. Welcome to the show, everybody. Look, I'm actually to teleport myself across the other side of the room. How much is that? Mail on Sunday. Should we start with that one and go through your front pages together? Well, Starmer is piling the pressure on Andrew to testify in the US over Epstein. That's a very rare intervention. We will talk about that. Sunday Telegraph. Ukraine deal not my final offer, says Donald Trump. The Sunday Times. Reeves to scrap benefit cap but pledges reform. Sun on Sunday. Prime Minister Andy should give evidence. Sunday Mirror. Rachel Reeves exclusive. I'll get a grip on the cost of living. OK. Sunday Express. Safety fears over fat jabs for RAF pilots. Bizarre. Sunday People. PM. Andrew should give evidence on Epstein. And The Observer. Greenland. Leave NATO, tax the rich, welcome migrants. Zach Polanski's hopes for Britain, I call them nightmares. Daily Star on Sunday. Shoplifters, surge in number of store thieves jailed. The Independent. Starmer backs our campaign as you raise over 75 grand. This is, of course, to help children who have been reported missing. Let's get the thoughts of my brilliant panel tonight. Reality TV and superstar AJ Pritchard, the journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov, and GB News contributor and comedian Stephen N. Allen. Steve, thank you very much. Lovely to see you here tonight. Thanks for joining me. Now, look, we've got some interesting puff pieces in the front here. I just want to briefly start with Rachel Reeves because I can't believe this front page. It gets me. It gets me. The Chancellor, an exclusive. It's an exclusive, everybody. She's saying she's going to get a grip on the cost of living. Is this not her job, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be amazing if the headline was, do you know what that cost of living thing? Nah, just leave it till next time. Of course she was going to say that. You're right. It's not even anywhere near news, is it?
No.
It's, of course, it's not only what you should do, it's what you would claim to do even if you know you can't do it. So it's utterly pointless. I hope she does it, though. But as much as it is fun to, to try and joke about Rachel Reeves, sweet mercy, the number of times I go into my local supermarket thing and weep at the cost. £12.50 for instant coffee. What? Why are we living in that world now? Why are they putting security tags on cheese?
You've got to stop going. You've got to stop shopping at M&S, Steve. That's the problem. That's the problem. I have to go to Lidl next, mate. Yeah, you join the rest of us.
Prefer Aldi.
Yeah, you're an Aldi gal.
I'm Aldi. I mean, actually, every time I go into Lidl, it always smells. I don't know why. There's always some kind of something kind of rancid in the middle there. I don't know why. Aldi never.
But do you think the government know what the cost of living crisis is?
Yes, they do.
Do you think so?
Of course they do. And the thing is that the Sunday Mirror, whether they've actually got an exclusive interview with her or not, says she told the Sunday Mirror, so I guess they must have done. The thing is, she said nothing. She said nothing, so that's why they've had to make this sound, you know. I mean, they could have made up something better, couldn't they? They could have fabricated something better.
Well, I think it's more interesting. The top of the mirror here is a free family-sized bottle of Coca-Cola or Iceland. That's Iceland tackling the cost of living crisis, if you ask me.
Just seriously on that, if you want to tackle the cost of living, don't make me pay more tax. Yeah. Because if you are fully aware of how hard it is to try and, you know, feed a family, stop taxing these. And I don't think that's what's going to happen in the budget.
Well, we don't. Well, we have to wait till Wednesday.
It's all been leaked. It's all been leaked. We don't need to know. It constantly gets leaked. I wouldn't be surprised at this point, AJ, if they just put every single one of the policies that they've leaked over the last 6 months. It feels like in this budget. It feels like it's just going to be that's a car crash.
I feel like they've leaked like the worst and worst. Then when it comes down, it's still bad. We think, oh, at least it wasn't that bad. Like it's like a weird reverse psychology scenario. But at the end of the day, this headline, as you said, it's nothing because nothing's been said. But it would be great to change the thresholds, do something positive. I have that hope there. I know it's not going to happen, but at least we can put that out there into the world. We've got to do something.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'm not braced for any positive news in this budget. We constantly get bad news, Nina. That's the problem.
It is awful, which is why I watched Strictly before I came out. No, seriously, I thought I can't go and discuss the news and just, you know.
So that's why there's a photo of Katia and Lewis there.
Oh, yeah.
Great shot. We'll go with that positive.
That was the most fantastic dance. They got 4 10s.
It was brilliant.
It was wonderful. And then there's somebody else has got Strictly, and it's let me look at it. It's Karen. There we are, on the top of the Sunday People, top right. She's absolutely wonderful. I think she got a 9 and 3 10s.
Well, AJ,
Marx was wrong. Strictly is the opiate of the masses. You're distracted from the actual truth.
Absolutely. You've got to have something.
Positivity. And if the working class people that wake up and do their
alarm clock people,
alarm clock people, they want to sit down with their families and watch some positivity. Strictly is the one thing that they've still got. Got there.
AJ, what are you making of Strictly at the moment?
I think it's fantastic, and I think really kind of seeing people work hard, understand the task at hand, and actually doing the job that they have signed up to do is great. And wouldn't it be great if our politicians just did the job that they were signed up to do?
What you mean if they were spray tanned and sparkled?
It would bring more joy to it.
Yes. If it works for Trump, why can't it work for Keir Starmer? Let's see. Trump's greatest impression of Keir Starmer. Maybe you could work on that a little bit. I don't know. So we keep the Daily Star here. Just bizarrely, there's a lot of free Coca-Cola going around at the moment. This could be quite a maybe we've just got too much Coca-Cola. On the front of the Daily Star, free family bottle of Coca-Cola at Iceland. Iceland are on a real campaign, aren't they? Obviously, other supermarkets are available. But I want to talk about the Daily Star actually while we're talking about free Coca-Cola because they're saying a surge in numbers of store thieves being jailed. It's an exclusive, and lots of exclusives today. The number of people being sent down for shoplifting is at its highest level in years, and they're being caged for longer. More than 12,000 store thieves were jailed in the last year, almost twice as many as 2023. But experts say more must be done to end the pandemic. Steve, do you think the government might be taking some credit for that one?
Well, I mean, it is the best news out there because normally every week we go, no one gets arrested for shoplifting anymore. Someone's been arrested for shoplifting, so that's good. This is not a different feature than what we've just been talking about. The cost of living story and the shoplifting story is the same story. These are just two sides of the same coin. Because when you go in there and it's £12.50 for instant coffee. I don't even drink instant coffee, but I'm angry at that.
What coffee? Are you joking? What coffee are you talking about?
I mean, it was some fancy instant coffee.
Well, yeah.
But still it shouldn't be £12.50 for instant coffee. Everything's too expensive, so of course you will see an uptick in shoplifting. Sadly, but at least people are being arrested for it. It was one of those things. It's the broken windows thing, isn't it? With a number of times I've been in shops and seen someone just dash in with a bag and leave with a bag full of stuff, and they don't even queue as long as I do. That's the thing that winds me up.
It's hand in hand, as you say, and they literally were walking with even basket. I saw the other day, literally the basket, pour the food and just walked out. And the security guard obviously has been told that they can't physically intervene, stands there, and I think it comes back down to a lot of things in the UK. it just infuriates me. And you see it, and you're like... how do I not get involved? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
It also means the next time you see an opportunity to not necessarily help out or not stick to a rule, you think, well, why should I when they don't? The next thing you're parking in a place where you annoy someone, and this is just paying it forward badly, isn't it? This is where society...
I was walking past TK Maxx in Covent Garden yesterday, and there was a couple outside there, crouched down with a great big bag, and they were just taking the packaging off things. And I asked, what are they? And my mother said to me, they've just shoplifted that stuff. I said, and they haven't even moved away, you know? I mean, nothing's happening to them.
Getaway drivers are being left out of the loop, aren't they?
Yeah, once we were sitting in Itsu, that little Japanese chain of things in Camden, and a guy came rocketing in, and all the shelves are open there, and he picked up 4 bottles of beer and took them. And somebody stopped saying, "Oi, what are you doing?" And he said, "It's Camden, isn't it?" I mean, as if that explained it. It's Camden, isn't it?
That's the problem. We've sort of normalised this behaviour. Like, I remember spending a little bit of time in Los Angeles and seeing signs up. I mean, basically, like saying to people, anything over 200 quid, we're going to come after you. It's just almost like legalising it, and everything is behind like locked glass doors over there because they've just allowed this epidemic to spiral because they want to defund the police and all this stuff, and it's just backfired massively. What do you make of it, AJ? Do you think we've got a crime epidemic in the UK?
Yeah, we definitely do. 100%. The fact of the matter, all of us can sit here together and talk about it from each brand, whether it be a supermarket, a fast food place, to walk in, and we see it daily, in London especially, to walk out. That's sad in itself. And what you spoke about within the US, changing the value on the crime, then seeing people in small stores saying, well, actually, it's this is not £1, this is now £500, and you get a ticket at the desk when you're paying, and we'll do discount $499, so I can charge you and you're not going to shoplift from my store. That's the extremes they went to in the US.
And have you seen the things, I'm presuming they do the same in the supermarkets you go to, where they have those weird little plastic things in front of stuff?
Yes.
I don't want the Krypton factor challenge.
And you can't slide it. It gets stuck.
They don't, you're right, exactly, they don't work.
It's just stupid ideas to stop people from stealing. If you want to steal, if someone's going to steal, they're going to steal. They'll find a way around it. But anyway, I don't know. They come up with all these inventions that just seem to just make it harder for you to buy something, frankly. Let's talk about Ukraine, shall we? Because it's dominating some of the headlines here. And I'm just trying to remember what page this is. It's the Sunday Telegraph. Ukraine deal, not my final offer, says Donald Trump. Now, interesting he's come out with this quite recently because there's been a bit of a backlash today, even from people that you perhaps wouldn't expect it from. Nigel Farage, of course, has said that he doesn't accept some of the elements of this deal, particularly in halving the amount of military personnel that Ukraine's allowed to have. So crisis talks now have merged. Steve, it's just like, we're never going to get peace, are we? I think, you know what, I was really hopeful a few months ago, but my hope in this situation resolving itself is in the gutter. What do you make of it?
Not going to resolve itself. Unfortunately, it really does require Donald Trump. And then when he say he kind of vacillates, I think is the phrase, isn't it? He blows. Whoever last he's spoken to is the opinion he'll have. And sometimes he's got an opinion that makes you think this is going to happen. He's pushing in the right direction. He's putting some economic pressure on Russia, which seems to be working so much better than anyone thought. And that's the way to do this, stopping people buying their oil, cut off the supply of the money, that could lead to something. But then he has a meeting with someone else, and the next thing you know, everything seems to be just collapsing. And it says that line where it says, not my final offer. You just hope that the offer will get better rather than worse, but I don't have a lot of faith.
No, Nina, I just feel like... I am pleased that the President of the United States is actively trying to do something, because I do feel that under Biden, this whole peace process was just... It didn't exist, frankly. It didn't exist. So I always commend someone who tries to create some sort of peace, but it seems like we can't get to a place where Putin and Zelensky are going to agree on it.
Well, I think the problem is that Trump has changed sides. I think that he's basically just delivering Putin up what he wants. And it was very bizarre when they met. Do you remember they met on that carpet? And Trump was so sort of conciliatory, and then Putin got into the car with him and into the beast with him. You never see what was that about? And since then, he just collapses when Putin says anything. And the trouble is that they've made this deal between the two of them. And it's nothing to do with Ukraine or Europe, who are literally in the front line after Ukraine. It's our war as well. And as Farage said, you cannot give up the military. I mean, Ukraine had to give up their nuclear in exchange for saying they would never join NATO. But, God, it just is too depressing. My father, actually, was Polish. But the little corner of Poland he was in at the end of the war, when they drew the line, it became Russia, and then that corner became Ukraine. So my father actually went to Lvov University, which is Lviv, which is Ukraine. So I'm not half Ukraine, I'm half Polish, because that's where he was. But so therefore, I feel very strongly about all of this, and I remember what, fighting for freedom during the Second World War. I mean, all of that, and it comes to nothing because Trump will not stand up to Putin.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want an end to. I hate war. I think war is a blight on humanity, and then when I see millions of young people, young men dying needlessly because two countries can't resolve this, it winds me up at Asia. And I also think the longer this war goes on, the more likely Putin is to win it, and win it wholeheartedly, because I think public support is waning on this issue, especially as we're facing so many economic crises. I do think we're running out of time for a peaceful solution here.
Yeah, I think death in war is so upsetting. All these young souls being lost, and really what for at the end of the day? I think that's kind of the point. And when it comes down to, I haven't read this in depth enough, but at the end of the day, both people have to speak, and I think it's going to take, whether it be Trump to step in. He is great at bringing people to the table to have that conversation. What the conversation is and how it unfolds, we never really know sometimes, but there is a resolution solved, and something needs to happen, because this is just going to be going on forever now. Is it something we just accept? Is it just going to continue?
A million people have died. I mean, that's just numbers that we understand are at least somewhat accurate. That is a lot of people dying.
It's
in this
dreadful.
War. It is
it's
absolutely
dreadful.
And I mean, I don't believe soldiers are guilty of doing this. They are instructed to do what they're instructed to do, and these are, in my opinion, innocent lives that are being.
And I don't want to be that person, but we know how much money is being given to them from our country, from other countries. And when it comes down to war, money, moving, corruption, I don't want to be that person, but money is made in these times.
Money is always made during war. Look, we'll come back onto this story, Nina. We've got to go to a very short break, because coming up...
What we're all trying to achieve here is a just and lasting peace.
Don't worry.
World leaders are scrambling today to secure peace in Ukraine as President Trump confirms his peace plan. It's not his final offer, apparently. Plus, police are accused of relying on false intelligence to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Surprise, surprise. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Last time I was here was with Buddy, my golden retriever, who joined me for the first 2,000 kilometre of my 13,000 kilometre triathlon from England to Everest. But this time we got back and we've just got a rescue dog, but Teddy, who's inspired our next adventure, our next charity expedition in aid of rescue dogs. So, yeah.
I'm going to slow you down a tiny bit there.
Absolutely, that's fine.
You said fairly quickly 13,000 kilometres.
Yeah.
So tell me about the stages of that.
So, yeah, so it was 6 months tomorrow, 6 months ago to the day, was on summit of Everest and completed the longest climb of Mount Everest in history. So it was 13,157 kilometres, which started with a swim across the English Channel and then a 12,000 kilometre bike ride across 18 countries to sea level in India, and then a 1,300 kilometre run and hike and climb from sea level to the top of Mount Everest. So it was the first triathlon to the top of the world and also the longest climb of Everest in history, which was for a great veterans charity called SABSIM, which makes mental health courses using wildlife and nature. And I studied zoology, massive animal lover myself, and now I've been back 6 months and we've just come across and rescued Teddy. It inspired our next little venture.
I mean, the trip you undertook, the 13,000 kilometres, medical experts said it was impossible.
Well, a lot of people said to me, a lot of experts said they're not sure if it's possible. You know, the question was that, you know, after nearly an 8,000-mile triathlon, would the human body then be capable of then climbing Everest? I lost 18 kilos, nearly died many times. The hardest day was on day one, actually, 18 and a half hours across the channel. That was just day one of 237. But we made it in the end. It was for a great cause, and we kind of defied possible to show the most important message of my entire kind of expedition, that the only person that knows what's possible is looking in the mirror.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain's economy is at a crossroads.
And this budget day, every decision counts.
From taxes and rent to the cost of living.
Whatever the outcome, the GB News family will be there
with expert analysis breaking down what it means for you. Budget day, all day Wednesday.
Only here on the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Alex Armstrong Tonight's late edition. I'm going to read some of your comments here on Ukraine. Tim says, it's not our war for now. Putin will make it our war. Let's hope not. Let's really hope not, Tim, because that would be absolutely devastating for all of us. Sandra says, why is it down to Trump to broker a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia? The war was going on before Trump came to power, so why is it all down to him now? Jackie says, I do not see where Russia gives anything in this deal, just takes. Well, listen, if you want to get engaged with us and get your views read out on GB News, there's a brand new way to take part in this conversation by becoming a friend of GB News for free. Take a look at this.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Anyway, good. Hello, everybody. Sorry, we're just talking about lots of different stories here. I could go on about them forever, I was going to say. But let's get more on those big stories in the Sunday papers, because I'm joined now by Laurie Wastel, who is the assistant editor of the Daily Skeptic. Hello, hello, Laurie. Can you hear me? Yes? Hopefully we got you there. Oh, maybe you'll be with us in just a second. There we go, Laurie. Lovely to see you, my friend. Sorry, we lost you for a second there, but there you're back. I want to talk to you about the front page of The Times and Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, because The Times are reporting the police used fake claims to ban Maccabi fans from the Aston Villa game. What should we know about this story, Laurie?
Well, it's a quite extraordinary story, actually. I mean, so the question here was, why did that ban have to take place? And now there was an official narrative, a sort of politically correct narrative, which was that, well, it was all the fault of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans for being hooligans, for perhaps even being far right. And this came down to an interpretation of what had happened the previous year at their game in Amsterdam against Ajax. Now, the claim that seems to have been in this report was that the hooliganism that went on there and the disorder was primarily caused by the Israeli fans. And in fact, Alex, that is completely false. The reality is that of the 5 people hospitalized in those really quite awful scenes last year, of the 7 people hospitalized, 5 were Israelis, and the vast majority of those arrested were locals. However, this intelligence, the West Midlands Police seems to have been relying on to make this judgment, suggested that, for instance, the Israeli fans had dumped a local into a river. So hooliganish were they? But in fact, the reality was quite the opposite. Alex, was that had happened the other way round. And so the question then is, why did the match have to be banned? Was it the Israeli fans' fault, or rather did the fans have to be banned? No, it wasn't. It was the fault of sectarianism locally, and the fact that, in fact, those Israeli fans would have been unsafe there. Alex.
Yeah, this is it, Laurie, because, I mean, I've said this many times here on GB News that my concern is the police are constantly bowing in to sectarians. We've seen it time and time again, and this was yet another example. This story will paint them in exceptionally bad light. It gets to a point where I feel the Home Secretary should be intervening on this, because it does feel time and time again that Israeli communities and Jewish communities are at the end of this discrimination, is what I would call it. Do you think we need to have some sort of inquiry into the way the police have been conducting themselves around this issue?
I think that the key question here, though, is why was Birmingham unsafe? I mean, I think in the event they're probably right that it would have been extremely disorderly and it would have been extremely unsafe for those fans to come. And let's remember that they, in fact, elected themselves not to come after this furore because they thought, well, probably it won't be very safe and probably they will end up being attacked. And then even without any of the Maccabi fans there were still some scenes of disorder. 700 police officers had to turn out on the night, and there weren't even away fans. So the real question here is, why do we have Britain's second city given over to sectarianism in this way, such that a group of Israeli fans can't come there and be safe?
Absolutely agree with you there, Laurie. Let's go on to the Observer, shall we? They've got a big spread here on the Green Party leader, Zach Polanski. I've only got the front pages, so I haven't got any insights here, but they are going with leave NATO, tax the rich, welcome migrants. Zach Polanski tells Rachel Sylvester his hopes for Britain. Now, when I see this, Laurie, this feels like the exact opposite to what British people have been voting for what, over decades now. You know, are we just moving into this weird fever sort of nightmare dream now where actually the British public is so fed up they're turning to anyone who even offers them a solution to anything the opposite of what their parents might have voted for, perhaps?
Well, perhaps. I think what's interesting is I mean, you see that front page there. He's portrayed as this breath of fresh air. He's broken onto the scene. Some might say, and there'll be a question for the readers of The Observer, perhaps, whether they want to turn to that new, perhaps upcoming party that certainly is getting some sign-ups at the moment, and it's going to be a significant headache for Labour. But in terms of trying to present him as a breath of fresh air in the actual policies, Alex, I'm afraid there's really not much there. I mean, as you say, it's more net zero, it's more immigration, and I mean that policy to leave NATO. This is not something new. This is something that, for instance, Tony Benn was arguing for back in the 80s. This is this is decades old stuff. They're trotting back out and trying to present as something that is shiny and new.
Yeah, indeed. I certainly agree with you there, Laurie. Thank you so much for joining me this evening to go over those two big stories there. Thank you very much. We'll look forward to having you on the show again. I'd like to bring this out to my panel here, Nina, AJ, Steve. Steve, let's go back to this Maccabi Tel Aviv stuff, because this was quite outrageous when this story broke, that, you know, we were explicitly banning the Israeli fans, but everyone else was happy to be there. Aston Villa fans were fine because of this fear of some sort of violence and some sort of protests that the police couldn't control. Now, you know, they're being accused, the police, of relying on false intelligence to ban those fans. What should we make of it?
Well, we should not be happy about it, but we shouldn't be shocked. Didn't you get that sense at the time? It wasn't really. It wasn't genuinely about the fear of the football fans who'd be coming here. It was more about, look, best case scenario, local police wanting a quiet life. You could spin it as that. Maybe they just thought, let's try and do something to lower the risk of there being conflict with local residents. Worst case scenario, it's what eventually some people were saying anyway. Some people have the belief that Israel should not be allowed to partake in sporting events. And some people were saying that quite a bit out loud, like the day after the story went. It was the excuse that they found. And it turns out they found it from the wrong document. It wasn't like 500 people being thrown in a river. It was one guy who was actually a Maccabi fan. So, look, unsurprising, but disappointing nonetheless.
Well, this is it, isn't it? And AJ, look, I mean, they've said that there's this pattern of hooliganism from Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. But there's a pattern of hooliganism in many football clubs, British ones included in that. We don't ban them from going to matches. And it seems to me, my assessment of the situation, which I think is quite is not an unfair assessment, is that actually Birmingham has a higher percentage of sectarian leaning people. Look at the independent MPs they've been elected there, and it has a strong Muslim population, and they were concerned that all those people were going to descend and it was going to lead to severe violence.
I think sports events should be remove politics, religion. Sports is sports. It brings people together for the right reasons. If something was to go wrong in that situation, that's why the police are there. That's their job. That's what they're employed to do. And security on site are ready to deal with them situations. But most people that go to a sports event are there to support their team and enjoy that occasion.
Yeah, I totally agree. Nina?
Well, I understand Downing Street condemned it. So how come they went ahead? I mean, so who made the ultimate decision? Was it the football club themselves? Was it FIFA? Or was it the police? Do we know this?
But I mean, the Home Secretary said she was going to intervene and look into the case, and actually that never materialised. I think in the end what happened is Maccabi Tel Aviv fans said, well, they're not going to pay for a ticket now anyway. But at that point, the damage has been done, and I think the question is how much are we willing to damage the image of Britain? I mean, if we had the same approach to Jews in the past, we wouldn't be the country we are today. I mean, I just feel like we've got this constant. We're allowing an attack on the Jewish community to happen because we're afraid of a few people who've got very loud voices but that speak for a very small minority of Britain.
I think we're seeing a lot of sporting events where, whether it be taking a Union Jack flag, whether it be wearing a football T-shirt of a different country, it seems to become such a point where somebody's wearing it to make it point. But the thing is, if security on the day or police on the day just didn't say anything, person would have walked in, done it and left.
I think it's not just a sports thing, though, because for me, it's the exact same stories when we hear about Jewish people being arrested near a protest, because it's easier to arrest the one Jewish person than to arrest all of everyone else turning up to the protest. And that's... cowardice is a strong word. I understand why the police want to do the thing for the easiest life and maybe have to do the thing for the easiest life because they don't have the numbers, but it's the wrong decision, isn't it? You're arresting the wrong people, you're stopping the wrong football fans.
I certainly agree with you. All right, let's just flip over to the Sunday Telegraph. Kemi Badenoch has accused Rachel Reeves of cowardice in stealth taxes. I mean...
The budget hasn't happened yet.
Go on, Nina, go on.
I mean, we say this, the budget hasn't happened yet. Nobody knows. Kemi Badenoch does not know what stealth tax is going to be. And believe you me, if the Tories were in power, Mel Stride, who's the Chancellor, I understand, he would be doing every stealth tax he could. And, in fact, he stood up at the Tory party conference at some side meeting and he was asked what he would do in this current situation. He said, I'd put up taxes.
Well, to be fair...
I mean, come on,
The quote I'll read out here, he says, I think it's the first budget I remember which has been a disaster before it even has been delivered, Steve. She's got a point, hasn't she? I mean, I cannot think of how many policies over the last 3 months even that I've had to read out on air to terrify all of us, including me sitting here, by the way, to terrify you, Ivan, me, because they've been on the front page of a newspaper saying Rachel Reeves is going to tax this.
Yeah, there's a maths problem going on here, because normally you can roll out a few little policies, and as you say, then when you find out the policy isn't as bad, it's like being mugged, but the mugger gives you a fiver back. You're like, whoa, what a nice guy. That's what they're aiming for. Yeah. But the problem is, well, look, you'll get one budget, but we've had 2 months of all of the bad, and actually we've got such a bad taste in our mouth for all of the threats that if none of them arrive, we'll still feel like, oh, that was a horrible time. I don't know. I can't remember in which way I was thoroughly done over, but I was thoroughly done over.
It has actually done damage because people aren't moving house, they're putting off buying the car, they're doing all of that sort of stuff.
The bonds, serious to our country.
But she's right. This is the same damage that they accused Liz Truss of doing in the mini budget. Yes, of course, it was a much quicker pace that damage had happened. But all those statistics are now way higher than anything Liz Truss managed to achieve.
Do you think it's the Treasury that's been leaking everything, or has it been other people? Has it been other parties leaking rumours?
No.
Come on.
This is normal behaviour from civil servants working in the public sphere or in the Treasury in different departments. But politicians give their blessing for these leaks. I know. I've worked
in the
they
past,
want
it's
this
never
to be
been this. This has been going on. It feels like a whole year in my head now. It's like you can't plan for anything. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. Well, listen, we'll talk more about it because we've got loads more to talk about on the show. Of course, I'm going to be joined by the one and only Ben Leo tonight. Very shortly, he'll be giving us more scoops on America. I will see you shortly, just after a very short break.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's an unsettled day on Sunday in the UK, but it's also unsettled across parts of Greece with blustery showers. Meanwhile, for the Canaries, not too bad. Madeira seeing sunny spells and plenty of settled weather for Spain and parts of Portugal, although northern parts of Portugal into the south of France there will be some rain, and it's showery across Italy, but more so for parts of Greece and Croatia, where there'll be some heavy downpours and strong winds. Very unsettled Central Med next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. For the remainder of the weekend, it is going to be staying unsettled, a mix of clearer skies, but also plenty of showers and some quite strong winds possible in the west later Sunday through into Monday. For the time being, though, there are still going to be some spells of rain out there, particularly across parts of East Anglia, southeast England. Now, this will eventually clear away, allowing some drier spells of weather, soon being replaced, though, by some very blustery showers. At first, pushing into Northern Ireland and spreading eastwards into western areas of the country by the time we reach Sunday. So a very wet and windy start here, but for many areas in the east, mostly dry, though there is going to be plenty of cloud around, and it's still going to be quite a chilly start to the second half of the weekend. But largely frost-free. That's away from the far north of Scotland, though. More clear skies here, so it's likely there'll be a frosty start, possibly some icy patches. Mostly dry, though some showery outbreaks around the Northern Isles. But for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern parts of England, a very wet start, some quite heavy downpours at times, and similar around any eastern areas of England too. Some clearer skies across Wales and the southwest, and eventually into central parts of England, but still some quite blustery showers here. Longer spells of rain eventually pushing into Northern Ireland and pushing northwards into Scotland, though we could start to see some sunshine by the afternoon, particularly across central areas of England and Wales, but once again can't rule out some showers. Not feeling quite as cold as it did last week, but in brisk winds, definitely feeling chilly, highs reaching between 10 to 12 degrees Celsius across parts of the south. Into Monday, it is going to be another cold start, a return of the brisk northerly winds, which is going to make things feel that little bit chillier. Still some showers, but once again mainly around exposed coasts, so many inland areas will see some sunshine, and lots of sunshine across the country on Tuesday too, but feeling cold once again with some overnight frost likely, and feeling cold during the day as well.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I would like to get the peace. It should have happened a long time ago. The Ukraine war with Russia should have never happened. If I were president, it never would have happened. We're trying to get it ended.
There he is, the man himself, President Donald Trump, talking about the war in Ukraine. And who better to talk about Donald Trump than a man who's met him? It's The Late Show live host, superstar, GB News' Ben Leo. Ben, let's talk about Trump, shall we, mate? He's got a deal out, a 20-point plan. It's got a 20-point plan. It's been utterly rejected by the European leaders, hasn't it? They're all at the G20 here talking things up. What should we make of it? Trump said it's not his final offer. Take it from here for me, mate.
Yeah, and by the way, just as a first comment, didn't Trump look sort of mafia-esque today in the White House lawn with his red scarf and big coat? He was literally the Don Trumpioni. But yeah, elsewhere, Ukraine, more serious matters. The peace plan has been presented. Trump, of course, has given Zelensky until Thursday to decide whether he wants to say yes or no to it. And Zelensky has described that as an impossible decision because, I mean, the detail is they have to give up swathes of lands, they have to half the size of their army, no future membership to NATO, and lots of other things as well. But Sir Keir Starmer, has finally spoken to President Trump today. He was meant to call him last weekend over the BBC scandal, but today we understand he has made that phone call. It came a few hours ago, earlier this afternoon, and Keir Starmer was expressing his concern, is the best way to describe it, that this wasn't going to be a good deal for Ukraine, whatever they choose to do. After that, President Trump kind of rode back on the insistency that Ukraine should decide by Thursday. He said, yeah, you know, this isn't the final plan, maybe we can tweak things. So already President Trump showing, and again, we've discussed it a lot, we don't quite know why President Trump seems to like Keir Starmer so much, but he does, it's genuine. And after that call, President Trump has said, okay, Sir Keir Starmer, okay, European allies, this isn't the first draft, maybe we can go back and look at things again. So it's amazing what Keir Starmer can do diplomacy-wise on the world stage. It has to be said, I know people won't want to hear this, but he does seem to have some sway over President Trump. It's just a shame that he can't perform as well back home domestically, Alex.
He had that sort of magic wand here in Britain, because I mean, we'd love some of our problems to be solved. But this is I was talking about this earlier, Ben, because the Prime Minister's now flown 70% of the way to the moon. He'll be an astronaut before he's a good Prime Minister in this, right? But anyway, I just wanted to bring to your attention this peace plan stuff, because J.D. Vance tweeted early in the hours of this morning about this peace plan. He's backed it. He said, the peace plan with Russia has to achieve these three things. One, stop killing while preserving Ukrainian sovereignty. Two, be acceptable to both Russia and Ukraine. Three, maximise the chances war doesn't restart. Every criticism of the peace framework the administration is working on either misunderstands the framework or misstates some critical reality on the ground. That doesn't seem to be the line Trump is taking today. What should we make of it?
Well, yeah, as I said, Trump has kind of U-turned slightly after the call from Keir Starmer, again, just proving the effect Keir Starmer has on the president. It's fine. They've been off message on a few different topics in recent past, and actually, I quite like it. I don't like to see inauthenticity from politicians where they're being whipped into the party line. J.D. Vance is a man of his own. I'm sure President Trump appreciates his contributions and vice versa, but Trump's kind of differing line on that did come after Keir Starmer's telephone call. I don't think they discussed, by the way, the BBC, as they were meant to do last weekend. Whether President Trump continues to sue the BBC, I don't know, but that's just a side point. But even the likes of Nigel Farage has come out and kind of said to President Trump indirectly, I don't agree with this. It's not a good deal for Ukraine. It's not good for the future of Ukraine, and it's pretty much bending the knee to Vladimir Putin. So Farage was very vocal about that yesterday. So look, people aren't afraid to come out against President Trump anymore. I think he's mellowed a bit in his sort of older age and the more experience he has in the White House. He's not so, and again, this will make people laugh, but he's not so sort of brash and authoritarian in his views and getting people on message. I think he appreciates the kind of, as a Tory would say, the broad church. But I guess look what ended up with how the Tories ended up with their broad church approach.
Ben, what else have you got coming up to tell us tonight?
There's a really concerning story, Alex. I'm arguing tonight that some Pakistanis, thousands, around 10,000, are taking Britain for mugs because new data from the Tories tonight, published in the Telegraph, shows that tens of thousands of migrants who have come to Britain on student visas or work visas have then basically gamed the system by almost instantly claiming asylum. 10,000 of those, the highest proportion of those 40,000, are Pakistanis. So they're coming to the UK on work visas, on student visas, and then saying, oh, actually, no, I need asylum because I'm being persecuted for something back home, or, you know, we're at war back home. The truth of the matter is, Pakistan's not at war anymore. They settled that war. President Trump settled the war with India. They've got a space program. They're going to the moon with China in 2028. And I don't see any reason why, especially as the UK sends Pakistan something like £40 million a year in foreign aid, why we should put up with this absolute outright scam and gaming of the British immigration system. We complain rightly about the concern about small boat migrants, illegal migrants, and the security threat they pose, but also legal migration now needs to be put into the spotlight because so many people, predominantly Pakistanis according to this data, sector are absolutely gaming the system, taking the mickey out of Britain. And I'd like to know how many of those Pakistanis who came on work and student visas and then suddenly claimed asylum are now claiming benefits. I mean, it's just, it's another damning indictment on how Britain's broken borders come not just from small boats, but also legal migration too.
I couldn't agree more with you, Ben. I'm really looking forward to seeing that big story you're going to be telling us at midnight. I will be tuning in myself. Ben, we will see you very, very shortly, my friend. Thank you very much for joining me. I want to come back to the panel here and just go back to a story that caught my eye because, of course, on the front page of the Sunday Times, again here, we're seeing more. I mean, interestingly, the front page of the Mirror, we've got Rachel Reeves saying she's going to get a grip of the cost of living. On the front page of the Times, we've got another kite being flown by the Treasury here. Reeves to scrap benefit cap but pledge reform. The Chancellor said to end two-child rule in budget, but she insists welfare bill must still be tackled. So Rachel Reeves will insist the government will make another attempt to reform the welfare bill as she prepares to spend $3 billion to end the two-child benefit cap. This is the same cap, Nina, that rebels were sacked from the party, suspended from the party from not that long ago.
I agree. The statistics will show you that the children most in poverty in this country are children of families larger than two, put it that way. Yeah. This is probably a generational attitude on my part because decades ago, when I was young, or even not so young, people didn't tend to have children unless they could afford them. We were very lucky as a generation. The pill came in the 60s, and when women before that didn't have control of their own bodies. And since the 60s, we do. And we could go out from the home, we could manage our families, we could earn money, we could be independent. We had the same power as men, if you like. And so, to me, I think it's irresponsible. I think people say, "Oh, my right to have a child." To have a child is a privilege, and I think people should take that more seriously. And you shouldn't just have children like going to get a puppy from a pet shop. So I think what they could do is to cut the two-child benefit cap, but say, OK, for all the children that are here now that are in poverty, we will lift you out of poverty, but in, say, a year's time or 2 years' time, it will come down. It will give you a chance to say, OK, I won't have any more children. Or if I do want children, I make sure I have the financial means to support them.
But this is my issue, right? We are moving towards less immigration coming into the country. And, of course, as a result of that, we were also seeing a drop, not as a result, but we're also seeing a drop in the childbirth in this country, which is crashing through the floor. Now, if we're going to have less migration, we need to make up for that in some way. And as much as I am not a fan of the state, and I never have really been a fan of the state giving handouts to people, at what point do we go, actually, this ideologically clashes with my views. We need to incentivise the population to have more children. We're not going to bring in more migrants. Surely that means we should end the two-child benefit gap.
Interesting. I think also you should finish the paragraph and think the kind of people you're thinking you want to see born in the UK might not be the ones who are necessarily in the large families that require benefits. I'm just thinking that might be, if you're thinking about extrapolating forward. But I kind of disagree. Because I understand your argument about from the parent side of view. You can thoroughly judge the parents, but this is about not punishing the kids.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Retrospectively, you didn't get a choice about whether your parents could have afforded.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why
I say. So cut it. The children that are born now, that are living in this country, that are living in poverty, lift them out. So, for all those people, but say from 2 years' time, when you've got enough chance to say, I'm going to have a child or I'm not going to have a child, then that's it. I mean, I know things happen, partners split up, partners sadly die. But it's not that.
Yeah, it's also possible to have a large family and then find yourself in financial trouble. So
exactly. It's not like there are aberrations. I understand that.
We're going to have to leave it there, everybody. We'll get some more thoughts, of course, shortly after the break. We'll be talking about RAF pilots getting fat jabs. Plus, Sir Keir Starmer, of course, has told Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor to face up to a US committee on Epstein. Is he going to do it? We'll talk about that very shortly.
GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Well, the Sunday Express says the RAF are considering allowing overweight pilots to use weight loss drugs. Why are there overweight pilots? I don't understand this. Anyway, it's reported that weight loss drugs are not approved for pilots, aircrew or controllers included in that at the moment. But Army veteran and former Defence Minister Sarah Atherton told the paper that the idea of military pilots and aircraft crews turning to weight loss jabs should set alarm bells. AJ, I'll come to you on this one. Yes, because it's ringing alarm bells for me.
Yeah, I think more than just alarm bells, to be honest. I've read into this a little bit more. It said 17% of the armed forces are classed as obese, and the MOD strongly denies the military has an obesity problem. But the one thing I was reading also is, like, the lack of physical exercise that's been done. I was like, well, if you're the army, surely that's kind of like a fitness test that you're doing, I would like to think, daily. Yeah. So that is more than an alarm. It's very worrying. If we did have to rely on the army, the idea is, hopefully never, but the opportunity is actually more and more these days.
Yeah, well, what do you think about this, Nina? Because if we're saying that 17% of them are overweight, I mean, that should never be the case in the military, should it?
No, absolutely not, and neither should the police be. You see, these police.
I agree. I was thinking about the police when you said
If you do actually manage to see a policeman, they're very often waddling on the pavement. You know, you think, for God's sake.
I don't have any chance of them running after me from Tesco.
They'll be doing a fitness test to get into the police, but then I don't think it's like, it should be an annual, like you have to run a mile in X amount of minutes, and it should be done, to us, in my opinion, weekly.
But what worries me is that lives will be put at risk by them taking it. Now, what are they saying about the fat jabs? I am quite against the fat jabs because we don't know what the long-term effects are, and unless people are learning proper eating habits and you know, they're going to be on them for life, so we don't know about that.
Yeah.
So what are they saying here? Putting at risk. Why? Why are lies going to be put at risk?
It doesn't really help much, Steve, that the front page of the Sunday Express is advertising free bottle of Coca-Cola with it. So if you're an RAF pilot reading this, getting a bit worried, your eyes might just dart over to that Iceland.
Maybe it's down to that cost of living again. They're going for that cheaper stuff.
I know in-flight drinks are expensive, so it'll be sugar-free anyway. No, I mean, one of the things about fat jabs is they can affect your eyesight. That's one of the side effects, and maybe that's why it's not allowed. But I do think you're slightly fighting the old war, because in the old days you needed military types who were really fit. Isn't it all piloting drones like you're some sort of computer games player? And if there's one thing you know about computer games players, they drink the Coke and eat the pizza and they're fat. So actually, maybe they are exactly the kind of demographic you should have gone. But I do think
somehow I think you're wrong on that one, Steve.
You should let them have the drugs though, because you can't weigh that much in a plane, can you? You burn more fuel if you weigh more.
That's a really good point.
We could probably sort out this.
I don't think it's in the seat, that's for sure.
Or
ejector seat.
Or ejector seat. Oh, still here. Still here.
Well, the parachute doesn't quite help. We could make fat jokes all evening, couldn't we, really? Let me just read this writer reply here. A Ministry of Defence spokesperson told the Sunday Express, safety remains paramount in the armed forces. Comprehensive medical evidence is always required before any consideration is given to the introduction or expansion of use of medication for our personnel. All right, everybody. Well, look, I'm going to run through your front pages, one more time with you. The Mail on Sunday. Starmer piles pressure on Andrew to testify in US over Epstein. Sunday Telegraph. Ukraine deal not my final offer, says Trump. Sunday Times. Reads to scrap benefit cap but pledge reform. Sun on Sunday PM. Andy should give evidence. The Sunday Mirror. Rachel Reeves exclusive. I'll get a grip on the cost of living. The Sunday Express. Safety fears over fat jabs for RAF pilots. The Observer. Greenland. Leave NATO. Tax the rich. Welcome migrants. Zach Polanski's hopes for Britain. Well, listen, thank you very much, AJ, Nina and Steve. I'll be back here tomorrow night. And I've got some of that exclusive footage, by the way, from the Pink Ladies protest I was at earlier on today. Hence the reason why I'm absolutely knackered. And I'm still cold from the terrible, terrible weather. I have a big show lined up for you at 9 o'clock. That's all we've got time for here on the show. I hope you've enjoyed the evening tonight. But up next is The Late Show Live, hosted by the one and only Ben Leo. Ben, what's coming up on your show?
Thank you, Alex. Get yourself some well-deserved rest. Tonight on The Late Show Live, I lay bare the migrant scam taking place in Britain. Not the small boats, not illegal migration. It's the scam of predominantly Pakistani men coming to Britain on work and student visas and then saying, oh, whoopsie, I need asylum. 10,000 of them last year, 40,000 in total. Elsewhere, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican firebrand who told Emily Maitlis to F off. Oh, could she be tabling soon a presidential bid? All that and more in just a tick.
It's the final week to see how you can enjoy Christmas on us. First, we'll give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash. Then we'll give you a further £10,000 cash to spend on all your Christmas presents, even the tree. Christmas lunch, that's on us too, with £1,000 in shopping vouchers to spend at your favourite supermarket. Finally, a GB News Christmas goodie bag. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB17 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 28th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain's economy is at a crossroads.
And this budget day, every decision counts.
Taxes and rent to the cost of living.
Whatever the outcome, the GB News family will be there
with expert analysis breaking down what it means for you. Budget day, all day Wednesday.
Only here on the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
A really important thing about GB News, and it's brought something completely different to the landscape.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, the reality is that most British journalists are afraid. That's not GB News.
Journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
We're here to talk about things in a way that have never been broadcast on British airways before.
Do not miss a moment on GB News.
The #1 news channel in the country.
Welcome back to GB News. We're going to fly straight over to Washington, D.C. for The Late Show Live with the one and only Ben Leo. Ben, what's coming up on your show tonight?
Hello. A big migration scandal. No, not the small boats, not the 50-odd thousand who have crossed the channel since Labour took power in July last year. It's actually legal migration we should be focusing our attention on also, because it's been revealed tonight, Alex, that some 40,000 people just last year alone came to the UK on student and work visas and almost instantly then turned around to the government and said, whoopsie, actually I'm claiming asylum. 10,000 of those people are Pakistanis, and I'm asking, why are we even giving asylum to Pakistani men when Pakistan isn't at war with anyone? We give them £40 million a year in foreign aid, and also they've got their own space programme. They're planning on going to the moon with China in 2028. Meanwhile, in the UK, the only thing mooning is our energy bills, crime and the cost of living. This is The Late Show Live. Let's do this. Good evening to you. Hope you're well on The Late Show Live tonight.
My own constituents, since I have been Home Secretary, have been telling me directly of abuses in the visa system that they can see with the evidence of their own eyes long before any officials in Whitehall.
I'm about to expose a massive surge in asylum claims in Britain as Pakistanis exploit gaps in holiday, work and student visas to enter the country in unprecedented numbers. You don't want to miss it. Also tonight.
On this vote, the yeas are 427, the nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended, the bill is passed.
Well, following Congress approving the release of the Epstein files, tonight the royal family is plunged into fresh chaos as the PM urges Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, to testify in America and tell everything he knows to lawmakers here. Plus,
the one I haven't done yet is Russia and Ukraine. It should have never started.
President Trump now admits his peace plan for Ukraine is not final, and that follows fury from European leaders, including one Prime Minister who gave him a phone call today, Sir Keir Starmer.
What we're all trying to achieve here is a just and lasting peace.
But in usual President Trump fashion, he's hit out at Ukraine's Zelensky, warning that if he rejects the deal by Thursday, he can, quote, continue to fight his little heart out.
We're trying to get it ended. One way or the other, we have to get it ended. So, then he can continue. Then he can continue to fight his little heart out.
President Trump literally looking like the Don there, a mafia boss with his scarf and winter coat. We'll also be cracking open tomorrow's front pages hours before the ink's dry and breaking the news before it comes news. And of course, we're live in Washington, D.C., just yards from the White House, bringing you the stories America's talking about and that matter to Britain too, including this one.
I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power.
She is Republican firebrand Marjorie Taylor Greene, the woman who once told Emily Maitlis to F off. She's resigned from Congress following a very public falling out with the president.
That's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States.
But could she now be about to make a bid for the presidential run in 2028? And I wonder what Emily Maitlis would think of that. I'll tell you the whispers I'm hearing on the ground here in DC. Also ahead tonight.
We've tried interdiction for 30 years. It doesn't work. They lose 2% of their profit margin. Yeah. They build it into the business plan. He says, now we're going to blow you up.
This Monday could be absolutely explosive because America is poised to brand Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, and his closest allies as members of a foreign terrorist organisation. What will that mean logistically on the ground? And should Britain do the same? Also tonight.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Kill pigs.
Yeah.
Explicitly violent.
Yes, and that language is throughout their entire movement. They want police dead.
All across America and now increasingly in Britain, far-left violence is exploding. In an exclusive GBNews investigation, we confront the militants driving this growing wave of extremism. Steve Edgington joins me shortly. But also this evening, you genuinely couldn't make this up. The United States has been accused of accidentally invading Mexico. Yes, that's after confusing it, apparently, with Texas. I'll tell you how it happened shortly. I'm Ben Leo. This is The Late Show Live, and your night's just getting started. Hello, good evening to you. Thousands of Pakistanis are taking Britain for an island of mugs. I'm about to give you the brutal truth about our migration system and the people gaming it, while our own children are pushed aside. Because for years we've been told the big problem is small boats, illegal migration. And of course it is a big problem. The number of migrants who have crossed the channel this year alone is just under 39,000, an absolute disgrace. But I argue tonight the real scandal's happening through the front door of Britain. New government data shows Pakistanis have been exploiting student, work and visitor visas on an industrial scale, using perfectly legal routes to slip into Britain, then suddenly claiming, once they're safely on UK soil, to be asylum seekers. Nearly 10,000 Pakistani nationals did exactly that last year. And in total, over 40,000 migrants entered the UK on legitimate visas, then claimed asylum after they arrived. Pakistan now makes 1 in every 10 asylum claims in Britain, the highest of any other country. But the question I'm asking tonight is, why are Pakistanis claiming asylum in Britain anyway? Who is Pakistan at war with? President Trump sorted the conflict with India. We send them £40 million of taxpayer money in foreign aid last year. Your money, my money. And they even have their own damn space program. They're planning to fly to the moon with China in 2028. The only thing mooning in the UK is our energy bills, the cost of living and crime. And I have no problem tonight saying that anyone, Pakistani or otherwise, who has gamed their way into the UK through this dodgy visa scam should be instantly deported or at least denied re-entry the next time they return from holiday in Pakistan. No benefits, no universal credit. Enough is enough. And it goes without saying that everyone involved in the Pakistani grooming gang scandal, well, of course, they can go home too. Thousands of people are strolling through airport arrivals in Britain with a visa in hand and an asylum claim ready to go. But here's where this becomes absolutely unforgivable. Up to 600 asylum seekers could be about to take over Crowborough Army Training Camp in East Sussex. That's my neck of the woods back home in Blighty. And breaking tonight, instructors have said that cadets training at the camp, young people, may have to be suspended or moved out because they can't guarantee the safety of children when migrants arrive. That's Britain's future soldiers, our own teenagers, forced out of their training centre because safeguarding them from leering migrants is now considered impossible. It's a disgrace. Joining me now is former Conservative MP Louise Mensch. Louise, thank you for your company, live from New York. What do you make of this situation with the legal migrants? We talk so much about small boats, illegal migration, but actually our borders are broken through the front door as well, aren't they?
Oh, they are. I mean, just look at the numbers that you've just broken on your show tonight, Ben. 10,000 just from Pakistan alone, whereas 39,000, as terrible as that is the number of all small boat asylum seekers, as they claim to be, who have come in from any nation whatsoever. So Pakistanis just on their own are constituting 1/4 of the small boats. Numbers that are also performing this scandal include Bangladeshis. I read in the same article that there was nearly 3,000 of those. So you're right, they're just walking in through the front door on visas that we arrange for them, on the red carpet, if you like. And then immediately they get here, they are claiming asylum from their very safe countries, which technically we count as allies.
Yeah, and I mean, do you know why, on what grounds they can claim asylum from Pakistan? Because as I said, the war with India is now finished. I think there were some small skirmishes between the Pakistani army and some sort of militant Islamist insurgents, but for me that doesn't count as grounds for claiming asylum in Britain.
The grounds for claiming asylum are very amorphous, and although I don't know because it wasn't discussed in the article that I've read about this broken in the news today, a lot of these people are coached into saying that they are Christian converts when they are not, and that they are at risk of religious persecution if they stay there. Some people, it has been anecdotally reported, who are not gay have claimed that they are gay and that they would suffer persecution if they went back to Pakistan, and so forth and so on. But this just isn't good enough. The first thing that we should do is to change the law to say that if you come in here on a student visa or on a tourist visa, you cannot seek asylum. You have to leave the country and seek asylum in a proper way. From outside the country. That should be the very first reform. Now, as to your neck of the woods there, Crowborough, that's a bit surprising because it's exactly my neck of the woods. I grew up very near to Crowborough in a little village called Rotherfield in East Sussex, literally next door. I actually looked this up, and it's about 10 minutes drive from my mum and dad. So this is my backyard. But I think I'm going to surprise you here and say that although we've really got to get a grip on the small boats, on these migrants and so forth, until the law is changed and until that is done, or anything is done, whether it's by reform or the Tories or if Labour finally get a grip, until then we've got to put these people somewhere. And we don't want to be putting them in basically hotels in the middle of communities. I think that a semi-abandoned barracks that's used for young people's training but not for our regular soldiers is probably about as good of a place as you can have, unless we can find some converted prisons, which again isn't outlandish because some of those are being made into luxury hotels. But you've got to put them somewhere until you change the law. Where do you put them?
Yeah, the points you make, Louise, I mean, they're not controversial at all. I mean, they should be, first of all, I mean, first things first, illegal migrants shouldn't be allowed to roam the streets. Once they've come to the UK and they've been detained on small boats and being processed in, I don't know, Crowborough Army Training Camp, they should not be allowed, as they do in the United States, to just waltz into town centres, not least funded by the taxpayer with bus passes and spending money on Aspen cards as well. Louise, thank you very much, appreciate it. I'll maybe see you around Sussex sometime, or maybe New York. We'll catch up next week, hopefully. Thank you, Louise. Right, joining me now down the line is Rob Bates from the Centre for Migration Control. Rob, one thing that really irks me about this is the fact that we give Pakistan 40 million odd quid a year in foreign aid. I think we're part funding the new construction of an airport there, and they're not at war anymore. And also, as I said, they've got this space program. They're going to the damn moon with China in 2028. So I don't understand why we're giving these people asylum in the first place.
No, quite. And I think this is actually indicative of what the real illegal migration problem is. Yes, the boats are incredibly annoying, but we need to realise actually every year we are seeing tens of thousands of people just overstaying visas that they have been given. These individuals have clearly gone on to claim asylum, but many others just simply disappear. And unfortunately, because our state apparatus is so creaking at the seams and incompetent. We just simply don't check out individuals that have arrived in the country. When it comes to Pakistan and the sheer number of visas that we are giving to them, well, the Home Secretary said this week that she would be putting visa sanctions on some countries. Clearly not Pakistan, though, and actually the 3 countries that she has identified, Angola, Namibia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, I think we've had about 6 illegal migrants arrive since 2018 on the small boats. This clearly shows that actually she'd have been much better advised to direct those efforts towards the real problem, which is the Pakistan, which is the Bangladesh, which is the India and the Nigeria, which make up a large component part of these asylum claims.
Yeah, well, Labour keep doing this. They keep banging on about the 50,000 deportations they've done. They're picking easy targets. The Vietnamese, the nail bar workers who no one really cares about. OK, they shouldn't be here in the first place, but no one really cares. People care about the third worlders, the cultures who look at women and children differently. And what should happen now, Rob, to these Pakistanis who have come last year? They've clearly gamed the system. They've been granted refugee status. They're asylum seekers. But, I mean, I guess we can't just send them back, can we?
Well, I don't think we can under this government. I mean, the government has suggested that actually they might introduce a process to actually start reviewing asylum claims. I would hope that a sort of centre-right government coming in the next few years would utilise any system that is put in place and start properly revoking large numbers of asylum grants that have been handed out really in cretinous manners, effectively sort of waving things through and just believing any guff that someone from these countries is able to produce, often having been advised to do so by immigration lawyers, of course. So the Labour Party really are very loath to do this kind of thing because I think it makes them feel very uncomfortable. But on the bigger picture, we need to move towards a position where actually we just freeze asylum claims across the board, whether you've come in illegally or whether you have come in legally and then tried to launch a legal campaign, a legal claim. This is something that has exploded out of all control. The asylum budget has increased 7-fold since 2019. We've spent 16 billion since 2019 over the course of just one parliament, effectively, and we're going to see another 10 or so billion in the coming years as well. The British people have done enough when it comes to sort of extending benevolence to the world, and I think, frankly, actually, we need to recognise that it's time to start using that money to actually make the lives of people in this country better, rather than helping any interloper that is able to sneak into the country, whether illegally or lying to get in through the front door.
Yeah, I know, Rob. We've done so much. We've been so hospitable, so generous. 40 million quid a year in foreign aid to a country that's got a space programme, accepting tens of thousands of their asylum seekers. You know, many who have come to the UK and been involved in the Pakistani rape gang scandal. We have been used and abused as a country for years as a doormat for the world's needy and so-called vulnerable, and it just, I don't know. Yet we still get called racist, we still get called bigots and shamed for our colonial past. It's embarrassing. Rob, thanks very much. Appreciate your company. It's Rob Bates, the Research Director for the Centre for Migration Control. Joining me tonight in Washington, D.C., my panel, political commentator Hilary Fordwich and the journalist and broadcaster Angelina McCarthy. Good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Hilary, I'll start with you. I heard you muttering in frustration during those conversations. What were you muttering about? What are you angry about?
No, sorry, I'm just absolutely disgusted. I mean, really, this is an invasion. What else is it? What are they coming for? You're absolutely right. There isn't a war going on in Pakistan. We do give them enough. We give them enough support. When we said that, oh, we have to, the lady, the MP who said that, oh, we have to house them somewhere. Why are we making it so comfortable? Why don't we just give them some tents in the rain? I mean, they're under no obligation to have to put them up in such facilities, and let alone now when we hear that these recruits are being ousted from our very barracks and they're our future military. That is scary.
Yeah, Angelina, what do you make of that? So cadets in the UK are basically youngsters who are training, getting involved in the armed forces, you know, sort of practicing and so on and getting a feel for it. They've been told that they have to leave this sort of base in the vicinity of the base because they can't guarantee the safety from these migrant men who are being bussed into the area. They just literally can't guarantee their safety.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you there. Is that should not be happening, right? There seems like there is an influx of migration going on in the UK, and it's overwhelming your own social welfare program and your own programs that benefit UK citizens, and that's definitely important. I think it's an important question to ask, you know, where are we going to put the asylum seekers at? Are we taking in too many asylum seekers? And we need to have actual numbers in how many people we can take into this country at this time. time. And I think that...
How many's enough? I mean, how many's enough?
I don't know.
I don't think any of them are real asylum seekers. That's my issue.
Well, so then what kind of proof do people need to prove that they're asylum seekers? And do you think, Hillary, asylum seekers should have a legal right to come to a country and seek asylum?
No, I just think that they should go somewhere then else, because you know what? They don't need to go the whole way to the UK. The small boats, for example, they could stop in France, they could stop in Germany. They're going to the UK because the UK is soft with too many benefits. And those countries that are putting their foot down, they're not going there as much. I don't think they're seeking asylum from absolutely anything whatsoever.
And do you know what's happening now? I think this whole migration charade, the scam, the legal migration, the illegal migration, the asylum, all of it. People are now so fed up with all of it and seeing the country taken for mugs, they don't want to know about any of it, even genuine asylum cases, which I guess is sad because we've done our fair bit with the likes of Ukraine, with Hong Kongers. People have now been abused and taken the mickey out of so much that the tide is turning. The so-called Overton window, they want nobody, even genuine asylum seekers.
Well, this is a problem, right? You don't want extremism on one end leads to extremism on the other end. You don't want that. We don't want to live in a society that's like that. What is best, right? Asylum seekers, that is a genuine problem. People are fleeing wars. People are fleeing genocides.
But
people
not from
are
Pakistan.
fleeing. We don't actually know that.
We do. There's no war in Pakistan right now.
Well, in Pakistan, you're talking about that specific situation. I'm talking about a case-by-case basis. We don't actually know what people...
There aren't any wars
what's going on with people. And so what kind of evidence do people need to provide asylum? What type of evidence do they need to provide to a country?
Like I said, I think now people don't care about the evidence. They just don't want them there in the first place.
They can be in a tent in the rain, and then let's see how much they like that.
I disagree.
Let's see if they're really seeking asylum, then they will put up with that, but they're not.
OK, on this story, a Labour source has said this government is restoring order at our borders with the most significant reforms in a generation. They point out that the figures come after new measures announced by Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, including requiring anyone who entered the UK illegally, visa overstayers included, to wait 20 years before they can settle, and making asylum strictly temporary, reviewed every 30 months with the option of removal if the Home Office later judges their home country safe. And on the issue of the cadet training in Crowborough in East Sussex, the Ministry of Defence said it takes the safety and well-being of all cadets extremely seriously, and that it continues to work with the Home Office to assess the potential impact that housing asylum seekers on military bases could have on our cadet forces. For me, the very fact those kids have been told to leave because they can't have their safety guaranteed in the presence of migrants says it all. We need to stop all migration, illegal and legal, before we can work out what the hell is going on. Let me know your thoughts. GBNews.com/your say. And of course, there's a brand new way to take part in the conversation by becoming a friend of GB News for free. Take a look.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
All right, still ahead tonight on The Late Show Live.
We've tried interdiction for 30 years. It doesn't work. They lose 2% of their profit margin. They build it into the business plan. He says, now we're going to blow you up.
America is poised to brand Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro and his closest allies as members of a foreign terrorist organisation. What does that mean exactly? And should Britain do the same? But first, a story you don't want to miss.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Kill pigs.
Yeah.
Explicitly violent.
Yes, and that language is throughout their entire movement. They want police dead.
This is fascinating. A new GB News documentary exposes the rise of the far left in America and what it means for Britain too, Antifa. I'll sit down with the journalist behind it all, Steve Edgington, GB News superstar. He's with me live next.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to The Late Show Live. That is not the beaches of Dover. It's actually in Mexico. The United States has been accused of accidentally invading a North Mexican beach. I'll tell you exactly how that happened very shortly. But first, a new documentary from GB News exposes the far-left group Antifa, or the so-called anti-fascists, which turn out to be the most fascist people around, which has recently been classified as a domestic terrorist organisation by the US government, who accuses Antifa of training and radicalising young Americans. Here's a snippet of what you can expect.
Were you once in Antifa?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I definitely wouldn't call myself like Antifa's strongest soldier, or like, you know, I'm going to like giant Antifa conspiracy meetings, but it's like, you know, I think that as far as like May Day is like a holiday in Seattle where Antifa often shows a presence. So I've participated in that, you know, whether it's like protests or marches, you know, dressed in all black, wearing a mask.
Have you ever heard anyone explicitly say they're going to kill someone, or they think it's justified to attack someone because they're a fascist, for example?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's like whether it's people deserve to die, they have no human rights. It's like calling someone a Nazi or a fascist. It's a way to just dehumanize them. You can do whatever to them. You can assault them. It's funny to them. They laugh about it. They don't kill you because you're a fascist. They call you a fascist so they can kill you. You know, it's just a way to dehumanize people and threaten them. Originally, they were trying to bully and threaten like what they would consider right-wing extremists, like Proud Boys or what like Christian nationalists, you know, that show up to protests or events. They're bullying them. That's not the target anymore. Now the target is anyone that doesn't agree with them. Socially, when I'm not at a meeting, I'm just hanging out with people that I know, you know, more and more, They talk about acts of violence, they talk about guns or going to gun ranges, and the shit scares me.
Why do you think some of these people that you know are arming themselves and going to gun ranges and so on?
They feel as though they're under threat. Well, you know, we're going to be genocided or put in prison, or Nazis have taken over America, and so we have to act now to stop it.
That kind of rhetoric and those ideas, do you feel that it's kind of like a radicalization or self-radicalization, almost akin to, let's say, an Islamist group?
How is this different than a group like ISIS? It's like, you know, you create this, you know, echo chamber, like this social group. You're not allowed to talk to any outsiders. If you interact with anyone who isn't part of the group or who thinks differently, then you're out. You're canceled, you're untrustworthy, or worse, now you're a Nazi.
Do you worry that some of the rhetoric coming from senior Democrats and some of the media describing Donald Trump as a Nazi, describing the Republicans as fascists, is radicalizing some people towards the kind of violence that you're talking about?
That is what caused it. So the Democratic leadership, it's like, you know, whether it's like when Kamala was running, just, you know, dead saying, you know, well, yeah, Trump is a fascist. But, you know, the Democrats, you know, they just constantly pouring gasoline on it and just normalizing, you know, this language, which, you know, has a lot of consequences. It scares people. That's what it does. When you have, you know, like these respected leaders, they're scaring it out of, you know, ordinary people, especially young people, and they feel as though, you know, they're under threat, that their lives are in danger, and it's actually not true.
Do they think a civil war is coming?
For sure. They probably feel like we're in it right now, and they have to be stopped no matter what the cost is, you know? And I mean, the cost is, you know, the country in chaos, where like political assassinations and murder is just okay.
Well, that looks absolutely fascinating. Well, join me now is the man behind that piece, Steve Edgington, the GBNews US video editor. Steve, welcome along. First of all, I've had so many people in this studio say Antifa doesn't exist. There's no leader, there's no organisation, it's just a myth. And secondly, what did you learn from filming this? Did it enlighten you? Did you learn anything which you didn't know before?
Antifa definitely exists. I mean, it's both an idea and an organisation. It's not just one or the other. So yes, people believe they are anti-fascist. It's a kind of ideology that many, many people around the US believe in. But also there are organised Antifa groups in different cities and across the country who are organising violence and organising mass protests and rioting, and potentially, in some cases, murder and assassinations. And we've actually seen an Antifa cell already being targeted by the Trump DOJ down in Texas after there was a shooting against ICE officers there. So what did I learn in the film? I learned that the far left is an extreme danger against ordinary Americans, and the kind of rhetoric and language these people use. We filmed most of the documentary in Portland. The kinds of, I think we're going to get onto this later, but the kind of language that they spray all across the city is just extraordinary. We can actually have a look now at some of the slogans that they were painting on the city. We've seen lots of signs calling ICE fascists around here, not signs, but graffiti and things like that. And there's also a couple signs we've seen that said, like, kill ICE, kill fascists. What do you make of that?
I mean, to each their own. Some people like to be very vocal about their displeasure for fascism, and well, it's on the rise. We are in the midst of a fascist takeover. So I guess resist how you want to resist is what I would say.
Even through killing?
I don't know. I don't think we're at that stage yet, but I hope we don't get there. I hope we're able to do things democratically and peacefully. But
there may be a stage.
There may be a stage where we need to get more aggressive with resisting fascism.
So, long story short, Steve, this seems to suggest that because they call people Nazis and Hitler and they believe that is the case, that kind of justifies in their minds that, yeah, OK, I'm going to take out the next Hitler and do humanity a favour, and it kind of justifies their extreme violence, right?
It dehumanises their opponents. By calling them Nazis, by calling them fascists, they believe it's justifiable to, let's say, punch a Nazi. It starts with punch a Nazi, and that kind of meme was very, very popular in the last 10 years across America. And then it's kill a Nazi, and we saw all these signs: kill Trump, kill Nazis, kill ICE officers, kidnap ICE officers. It's incredibly violent, the rhetoric, and that leads potentially to violent actions that we've seen. And let's not forget, let's remind our viewers, the far left, this isn't just something that we're talking about and it's all just rhetoric. No, no. There has been actual acts. Charlie Kirk was murdered, obviously, just a couple of months ago. Assassination attempts on Donald Trump's life, which also led to the murder and the deaths of Trump supporters in the crowd. People often forget that when he was targeted at Butler. There was the murder of Brian Thompson, the healthcare CEO. And after all of these acts, and then there's the mass rioting, of course, BLM and other riots that we've seen over the years, where billions of dollars in property damage is done to ordinary small businesses and so on. After all of these acts, these left-wing protesters and Antifa is celebrating the murder, is celebrating the violence against their political opponents. So yeah, this is a real danger against ordinary Americans.
Yeah, they're sick. And do you know what? After Charlie Kirk was murdered by that loser, what did the so-called right do? They had a memorial. They praised Jesus. They played worship music. Erica Kirk took to the stage and said, "I forgive Charlie's killer." It was a beautiful occasion. I had the great privilege of being there. And what do the left do after BLM, after George Floyd dies? By the way, George Floyd, Charlie Kirk, absolutely no comparison. They went and burnt down cities. They caused carnage. They burnt cars and looted shops. So there's the comparison. Final question, Steve. What about the UK Antifa? I know there is some sort of existence of Antifa in the UK because they were behind some of the migrant hotel counter-protests at the Barbican in London, I think. But is it anything on the scale as we see here on West Coast America?
I don't think it's the same in the UK. And one of the reasons is there's loads of guns in America. So there's lots of, it's much easier for Antifa in America to actually go and kill people. People seem far more radicalized here against Donald Trump and the Republicans, genuinely believing these people are fascists, Nazis and Hitler. Whereas in the UK, we're not quite at that same level of political polarization where, say, The Guardian or other people are calling Nigel Farage literally Hitler, calling all Reform supporters fascists and Nazis, although maybe that's coming.
Well, David Lammy wasn't far off the other week. You know, he's saying Farage. Well, The Guardian did it as well. Lammy went on the airwaves and said Farage sang Hitler youth songs at school, and then The Guardian did that big piece the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, speaking to old so-called classmates saying the same thing. So it sounds like we're not that far off.
You're right, and I think people should be concerned in Britain as well that kind of violence could come to the UK if people genuinely believe that Farage is Hitler and will be the next Prime Minister.
Yeah. Steve, great work as ever. Looking forward to watching this. You can watch it at home, the full documentary on the GB News YouTube channel. To do so, scan the QR code on screen now. Basically, get your phone out, put the camera on it and click the link. Or visit, of course, the easy way, youtube.com/@GBNewsOnline. That's youtube.com/@GBNewsOnline. Great work from Steve. Thank you very much. Right, coming up on The Late Show Live.
We're trying to get it ended. One way or the other, we have to get it ended. So well, then he can continue. Then he can continue to fight his little heart out.
World leaders are now clashing over how to secure peace in Ukraine, and one Sir Keir Starmer has quietly decided not to attend next week's talks in Washington, D.C. Lucky for me, eh? I'll bring you the latest, but also tonight.
In the end, it's a matter for him personally. My view, and this is not about the individual case, more broadly, is that anybody who has relevant information should always be willing to give it to whatever inquiries need that information, but the individual decision is a matter for him.
Sounds like that was Rachel Reeves in the background there, tearing her hair out over the upcoming budget. But that, of course, was the Prime Minister, who's waded in on the release of the Epstein files, urging the artist, formerly known as Prince Andrew, to testify in Congress. This is an extraordinary intervention. It never normally happens, the PM getting involved in sort of former royal affairs. But he has. He's turning the screw tonight on Andrew. Back in a tick on The Late Show Live.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversations.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Late Show Live. I'm Ben Leo. Thank you for your comments on Your Say. One here from Thomas. Good evening, Thomas. You've said, with regards to the National Guard and ICE being the immigration authorities here, you said, I still can't work out why Americans think martial law is a good thing. This is the first year of patrolling with rifles and the novelty and goodwill is still there. Wait until fatigue sets in and the dust settles. Be careful what you wish for. Thomas, I really enjoy having the National Guard on the streets. I know Bev Turner does as well, because, long story short, it just makes you feel safe. I know many Americans have issues with, you know, pretty much the army, their reservists being on the streets, but when there's crime, when there's thugs running around, when there's gun crime, I like it. I say hello to them all the time. I say thank you for your service, the National Guard, and yeah, they're a good bunch. Elsewhere, somebody has said, Glynis, you said, I think the reason Keir Starmer is wading in on Prince Andrew is he's looking for someone who could be a bigger target than he is. Well, talking of Prince Andrew, this is the story you're referring to, Glynis. The Prime Minister's piled pressure on the former Prince, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, to give evidence to the US Congress on what he knows about Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew has thus far ignored a request by the US to testify about what he knew about the disgraced paedophile. The Prime Minister, though, has told reporters at the G20 today in South Africa that, quote, anybody with relevant information in relation to these kinds of cases should give evidence. It's an extraordinary intervention, Hilary and Angelina. Welcome along to my panel again. Because the Prime Minister rarely gets involved in royal matters, but he's turned the screw today on Andrew, saying, well, yeah, he should come to the US, he should give evidence in Congress.
Well, he absolutely should, and I think what this is going to do is this is going to be diplomatically very difficult for him to back out of. Why? Because eventually everything is going to come out. I think it's better for him to get ahead of it. If he did the decent thing now, it's never too late to do the decent thing. He could do it now, and if he could help, maybe he could mitigate the ghastly damage he's caused the royal family.
Do you think there's damage control opportunities there for Prince Andrew? I mean, why? I really don't know why he would. Why would you bother? You've lost your titles, you're disgraced in the public eye, you've been kicked out your home. Why would you bother with the humiliation of coming to Congress?
Yeah, I just don't see it. I agree with you there. I don't see that there's really much damage control that can be done at this point. We don't know what's going to come out in the rest of the files, right? right? The DOJ has 30 days to release them after Trump signed that bill into law. So we don't know what's going to come out. We don't know what's redacted. I think Prince Andrew's pretty too deep in now. If anything comes out that is alarming against him, it's not going to help him save face by coming to Congress to testify. I really don't at this point.
I just think he could do the decent thing, and it might make him look like he's actually helping and trying to do the right thing for once.
Somebody has said on your say that Keir Starmer shouldn't be wading into this. Just leave Andrew alone, Hillary.
He's dug his own ditch. He doesn't need to wade in.
Who? Andrew?
Yes, right.
Yeah. What do you make of the proposal or the concept that Starmer's trying to get attention off his own woes?
Absolutely, of course.
Prince
No,
Andrew?
right. He wants to deflect.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just tell us, Angelina, Congress, they can't subpoena Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Andrew, as he's commonly known as a mere peasant these days.
Right.
They can't force him to come to the US, can they? It's just a polite request.
Yeah, it's a polite request. They cannot force him to come to the US.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. gbnews.com/your say. Somebody has said, where are we? Oh, there's comments on Farage. You mentioned that, of course, the government, Keir Starmer, pulled around 75% of Nigel Farage's personal security in recent months, knowing, I'd argue, the threat that Nigel Farage. Any more here on Andrew? Yeah, that's about it. Right, still ahead on The Late Show Live. We'll be getting stuck into the first of tomorrow's newspapers. Stephen Allen is down the line. But also, check this out.
I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power.
I'll remind you again, if you're not familiar with that lady, she's Republican and MAGA firebrand Marjorie Taylor Greene, but you may know her more affectionately as the lady who told Emily Maitlis to F off. Yeah, she may be running for president in 2028. And if she did, what would it mean for Britain?
Why don't you go talk about Jewish space lasers, and really, why don't you off? How about that?
And I wonder what Emily Maitlis and the news agents and Lewis Goodall, what they think of a Marjorie Taylor Greene run at the White House in 2028. I wonder if they block their visas. Emily Maitlis, no, you're not allowed in the United States. Anyway, we can dream. Back in just a tick on The Late Show Live.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello everybody, welcome back to The Late Show Live. I'm Ben Leo. Just some more Your Says to get through, gbnews.com/Your Say. Mark, good evening. You said, if Keir Starmer really believes that Andrew will testify in Congress because he wants him to, then he's more deluded than I thought he is. And I don't think much of Starmer anyway. The bird table in my garden has more personality. Linda, good evening, Linda. You said, we're getting more news about our country's problems from Trump's America and Ben Leo on The Late Show Live than anywhere else. I've just heard the story about the Pakistani, 10,000 of them coming in with visas and claiming asylum. Again, we're being used and abused. Who is going to stand up for us? Catherine. Hello, Catherine. Good evening. You've said, I knew I liked Marjorie Taylor Greene immediately after that mateless moment. It was a refreshing break from protocol. And Glenn, you've said, I think Ben is the best for looking at Your Say comments. Bev and Michelle are good too. Thank you. Glenn, the reason I do is because I say it every night at the end of each show. Thank you for your company and I appreciate it, but I genuinely do because it's past midnight in the United Kingdom. It's sometimes lonely here in DC with just the panel here. So I do appreciate your company. I read your comments and yeah, hopefully you appreciate the show that we delivered to you too, live from America. Right, let's dive into some of the main stories on the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers back in England with GB News contributor Steve N. Allen and also my panel here in DC, political commentator Hilary Fordwich and the journalist and broadcaster Angelina McCarthy. Right, what should we start with? Steve, good evening. What do you want to get stuck into, my friend?
Well, I mean, I'm very much enjoying this Keir Starmer trying to have any sort of influence with what's happening with Andrew. It's amazing, isn't it? It is weird that normally you don't get prime ministers getting involved in these issues of royalty. But it's not an issue of royalty anymore, is it? That's the thing. Andrew isn't a prince and Keir is a sir. So in our bizarre hierarchy system over here, technically now Keir is above him, so I guess he can still get stuck into this. Yeah, it doesn't matter what Keir Starmer says. There is absolutely no way Andrew is going to do this. Because it's not like he has good form in coming out well from interviews. Do you know what I mean? The old adage of never explain, never complain. I never realised how good it was. But it turns out it's the thing that they should stick to. I mean, Andrew left that interview thinking I did really well. So he could go to the Congress and think, well, I really performed well there and absolutely ruin his reputation. And it's not like he has a salvageable reputation. It's not like he could say anything and suddenly go back to work. He's kind of spent.
Yeah. Well, I guess he does deny all allegations against him. And there are some viewers, Steve, Hilary, maybe you can comment on this. There are some viewers of GB News who say, look, innocent until proven guilty. They have questions about the whole Epstein scandal, and they seem to think that, Andrew has nothing really to be sorry for, or why should he come to Congress?
Well, I don't think that he's innocent.
Remember he denies everything against him.
I'm not saying he's innocent, but he hasn't been proven guilty in a court of law. Absolutely correct. But that's why I was saying it's never too late to do the decent thing. If he did come and testify, I totally agree that he isn't good in interviews, that he's not at all self-aware, that he says the wrong things. But you know what? At this juncture, he's lost his titles, he's lost his standing, he actually has lost his reputation, everything. He might be able to redeem himself just by the very fact that he tries to help.
OK. Angelina, what do Americans really think of the monarchy these days, the British royal family? Do you still kind of really adore us? Because when I'm walking the streets of America and people know I'm British, if I'm in a supermarket, I'll say, oh, where's your milk, please? And they'll say, oh, my God, are you British? And the next thing they talk about is the royal family. Do Americans love the royal family still?
They like it culturally, like they like celebrities. That's how they perceive the royal family. But the idea of bringing a monarchy into America, I mean, that goes against our basic principles. We escaped you guys, right? So that's really drilled into us and part of our culture. So to say, do they like the monarchy? Yes, they love the monarchy in a cultural sense. They're looking at fashion. They're not really looking at them for political influence.
And I would say the best quote I ever had from an American was, we have all the pomp and circumstance, but we don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, indeed. And also you've got King Trump, haven't you? So the left seem to think.
Of course, Americans love the UK accent too. Like, it's so popular here with Harry Potter. Everybody's always, you know, there's TikToks, people faking the UK accent. Americans really, really adore it.
Yes, but the only issue is, I mean, I say water. And, you know, I suppose most Brits say water, don't they? And bath, with Bath. You know, strong southern accent. You say water here in America, you go into a restaurant and say, I'll just have some water, please. They say, what? What are you talking about? Yeah, 5 or 6 times I have to repeat it. So eventually I have to say some water. Water. So,
I've actually translated for a UK friend before. I'm like, they want water. They want water.
Remember, Angelina, we gave you the language, so you know, behave yourself. Steve, can we look at the front page of The Observer? Zach Polanski's had some sort of glowing review, some, you know, I don't know what it is. Greenland, it says, leave NATO, tax the rich, welcome migrants. Zach Polanski tells Rachel Sylvester his hopes for Britain. Is Zach Polanski Britain's Zohan Mamdani?
Do you know what? Possibly not, because it seems like best friends with Trump. I'm not sure that our Zach's going to end up doing that. Yeah, that headline, Greenland, obviously implies something to do with being eco-friendly, but it also, the other meaning of green would be naive, and I think there's a lot of that in there as well. It's worth realising that there is a bit of a political moment happening. It's populism on the left side, which we've not seen for a while, so it doesn't matter if any of these solutions are good solutions to the problems. It's something that's whipping a group of people up. So in that he's quite successful, good at communicating, I guess. So actually, you got some good point with the Zandani stuff. But some of these ideas are a bit naive. Tax the rich, yeah, great idea. The only problem is one of the things that would define someone as being wealthy is their ability to move away from taxation. So until you manage to square that circle, it doesn't really work, does it? The rest of it is he's making great sounds. I'm not sure any of this is pragmatic, but the kind of people who end up liking this party aren't really into they're not in the pragmatism phase of their life yet.
No, they're mostly all sort of parish councillors who have got nothing else to do since retiring. Hilary, there seems to be a common theme, though, with Zohan Mamdani, Zach Polanski, Nigel Farage. They talk well. They're good talkers. They're good on screen. They can deliver a message. And I guess they're all anti-establishment as well. They, you know, different sides of the political coin, but they are all anti-establishment.
Well, you're totally correct. They're all articulate, but they've leveraged social media. That is the key. You leverage social media, and then you get the youth vote. You leverage social media, and then that also gets sent around, and every single generation gets it. So I would say yes, they're articulate and they know what they're doing in terms of leveraging it.
OK, thank you, panel. Thank you, Steve. We'll catch up in the next hour or so. Janet, you said, are you watching the Vegas GP, Ben? I will be, yes, in a few hours. More coming up in this next hour, including...
What we're all trying to achieve here is a just and lasting peace.
European leaders talk tough on peace as Ukraine potentially nears a deal with Russia, but President Trump's plan is dividing opinion. Which world leader would you prefer?
Hello.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. A cold and frosty start across the far north of Scotland. Elsewhere, a day of heavy blustery showers, though we are expecting it to brighten up nicely into this afternoon. For most, though, it is going to be a very wet start, some heavy downpours at times. Eventually, any rain will clear its way into the North Sea, allowing it to brighten up across many areas of England and Wales, but there will still be some showers, particularly across the west, so a day of sunshine and showers. But across Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, perhaps some parts of Northern England too, plenty of cloud around and still plenty of showery outbreaks. Feeling quite cold across the northern half of the UK, but highs across the south reaching between 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, so a little bit above average for the time of year. Still plenty of showers in the west to end the day, and also some quite strong gusty winds pushing through into the Bristol Channel. A very unsettled end to the day too across Northern Ireland, northern parts of Wales and England. Plenty of cloud and some showery outbreaks and fairly similar across parts of Scotland too. So it is going to remain fairly unsettled as we progress through into this evening. Now, low pressure is the reason for this quite changeable weather, and it will eventually push into the North Sea. And with it, we do start to see a change in our wind direction. So we'll return to a more northerly flow of air. So it is going to be feeling a bit chillier once again as we head our way into Monday, and still very unsettled, still plenty of showers across the country. Lots of cloud though, so remaining mostly frost-free for a time, but it is going to still be remaining quite chilly as we begin the new working week. So lots of cloud around to start, but this should lift and break through the course of the morning, allowing some sunshine to develop mainly across inland areas because that brisk northerly wind once again dragging in some showers. So mostly around coastal areas is where we'll see some spells of rain. It will start to feel that bit chillier once again, highs reaching around 9 degrees Celsius. So if you do see any sunshine, you have to wrap up warm to enjoy it.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's economy is at a crossroads. And this budget day, every decision counts.
Taxes and rent to the cost of living.
Whatever the outcome, the GB News family will be there.
With expert analysis, breaking down what it means for you.
Budget day, all day Wednesday.
Only here on the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. On The Late Show Live tonight, the Republican firebrand who once told Emily Maitlis to F off, well, could she soon be running for president? And here's one that'll make you spit your kebab out. Should we give Sir Keir Starmer credit for Ukraine? Good evening on The Late Show Live tonight.
The one I haven't done yet is Russia and Ukraine. It should have never started.
President Trump has admitted that his peace plan for Ukraine isn't final. That follows fury from European leaders and a phone call from our dear leader, Sir Keir Starmer.
What we're all trying to achieve here is a just and lasting peace.
But in usual Trump fashion, he's hit out at President Zelensky of Ukraine, warning that if he rejects the deal by Thursday, he can, quote, continue to fight his little heart out.
We're trying to get it ended. One way or the other, we have to get it ended. So, then he can continue. Then he can continue to fight his little heart out.
And by the way, can we spare a moment there for President Trump's winter attire? He looks like a mafia boss, and I'm here for it. We'll also be cracking open tomorrow's front pages hours before the ink's dry and breaking the news before it even comes news. And of course, we're live in Washington, D.C., just yards from the White House, bringing you the stories America's talking about and that matter to Britain too, including this one.
I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, the lady I just told you about, that you told Emily Maitlis to F off some years ago, well, she's resigned from Congress following a very public falling out with President Trump.
That's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States.
Also ahead on The Late Show Live tonight.
We've tried interdiction for 30 years. It doesn't work. They lose 2% of their profit margin. Yeah. They build it into the business plan. He says, now we're going to blow you up.
This Monday could be absolutely explosive because America is apparently poised to brand Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro, who President Trump calls a very bad hombre, and his closest allies as members of a foreign terrorist organisation. Should we, in Britain, do the same? Plus, well, you genuinely couldn't make this up. Get this, the United States has accidentally invaded Mexico. Yes, accidentally invaded Mexico after confusing it with Texas. I'll tell you how that happened very shortly. I'm Ben Leo, this is The Late Show Live, and welcome along to the second hour where we've got all the stories you'll be talking about much later today, even more debates, and of course, yes, 0 ad breaks. Don't go anywhere. Right, you'll enjoy this. One of the most explosive figures in American politics has just walked out of Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the one-time queen of MAGA, the megaphone of Trumpism, the blonde bazooka the media love to hate, well, she sadly resigned. She's quitting in January. But if you think this is the end of MTG, you haven't quite been paying attention, because this is a woman who doesn't retreat. She just reloads.
Could you tell me why so many people that support Donald Trump love conspiracy theories, including yourself? He seems to attract lots of conspiracy theorists.
Well, let me tell you, you're a conspiracy theorist, and the left and the media spreads more conspiracy theories. We like the truth. We like supporting our Constitution, our freedoms, and America first. So,
what about Jewish space lasers? Tell us about Jewish space lasers.
No, why don't you go talk about Jewish space lasers? And really, why don't you off? How about that?
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Well, I'd still actually quite like to know about Jewish space lasers, but anyway, more serious matters. Her relationship with President Trump didn't just sour, it went absolutely supernova. The man she once defended at every podium all across America is now calling her a lunatic and a traitor.
So, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not anyway, I mean, she is a very different thinking than I have. Something happened to her over the last period of a month or two where she changed, I think, politically. I think that her constituents aren't going to be happy. Already, I have people calling me. They want to challenge her to a race in her district in Georgia. And, you know, that's too bad. She's lost a wonderful conservative reputation. But when she says, don't go overseas, if I didn't go overseas, we might be in a war right now with China.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened to Marjorie. She's a nice woman, but I don't know what happened. She's lost her way, I think. But I have to view the presidency as a worldwide situation, not local.
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, in turn, says she's being punished for demanding the release of the Epstein files.
That's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States.
OK, well, let's be real for a second. When a political marriage like this blows up and it has been toxic, it's never about just one issue. Her letter wasn't the resignation of a politician. I argue, love her or loathe her, MTG is a force of nature, and nature doesn't just disappear, does it, when it resigns? It re-emerges. So what now? Are we about to see her run a presidential bid in 2028 maybe and try to take the reins of the Republican Party? Well, let's ask Republican strategist Amy Tarkanian, who joins us live now down the line. Amy, there seems to be a split in the MAGA movement. I mean, does MAGA even exist anymore? And also, is Marjorie Taylor Greene, is she going to run for president in 2028?
I don't believe she's going to run for president, but I do believe that she is a force of nature, as you mentioned, whether if you love her or loathe her. And I think that she will do everything in her power to actually help certain candidates that she believes are going to fall in line with following through with the truth, following through with, as she views, to be America first, and following through with things like releasing the Epstein files. And so, you know, it's unfortunate that it took her this long to actually wake up and realize that Donald Trump's loyalty is only in one direction. And so as soon as you start to question, as soon as you start to step out of line, you are now viewed as the enemy. And this is the point at where she's at, unfortunately. And she's been relaying publicly that her family has been under distress, and there's been a lot of death threats. And so, you know, that's unacceptable. And it's really disgusting and quite sad to see that this happens, starting from the top. But I do know firsthand, me being a Republican, that during the second term, when I stepped out of line and I actually supported a split ticket, I was actually chastised and removed from attending local events at one point because I was not MAGA enough. I asked too many questions. So I feel for her to some extent, but at the same time, you know, she was pretty toxic from the get-go, and she was actually pretty guilty of lobbing arrows.
What do you make, Amy, of the concept that anybody who's, in the Republican Party, in the government, in the cabinet, they all need to be on message? President Trump, of course, he loves loyalty. Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, Kennedy, they're all on message. They're all loyal foot soldiers. Whereas compared to, say, the UK, the Labour Party, who have got a massive majority in Parliament, they struggle to even get a legislation through because there's so many backbenchers and just, strange little new MPs who don't go along with it. So do you agree that people should stay on message? You should have that firm loyalty, or would you rather see something like we have in the UK with the Labour Party, where you get dissenters, you get so-called rebels?
Right. Well, once again, I would say, at least recently, Republicans, prior to President Trump, they actually probably resembled more of what you're describing that's going on in the UK, where we did struggle. We had a message, but yet we would still have dissenting opinions. We would have, maybe some questions. We would have other thoughts brought to the table, which would sometimes make things more difficult to get past. And so that's where Democrats usually did so well, is that they were kind of like little sheep following the herd, and it was very easy for them to be able to overcome whatever Republicans wanted to bring their way. But that's not the case any longer, and I don't even think that this is really necessarily a healthy way of governing, so to speak, because there truly is no room for stepping out of line, for even wanting to bring a new suggestion to the table. You are not even given a seat at the table. You're not allowed to even look at the table. You're not allowed to even serve the table. You're not allowed to even walk into the room if you have now put out a question that would step outside of Donald Trump's messaging. And I have seen Democrats over decades where, even though they were excellent at staying on message, they would still occasionally, maybe throw out a question here and there and still be welcomed back into the fold. But this is a whole new level for me personally that I've witnessed.
Just finally, on that note, is President Trump not getting things done, though? Because he's got that loyalty, he's got a cabinet who are a message, and he seems to be, as far as I can see from a Brit watching semi from afar in DC, he seems to be getting results. Illegal migration down, for example. He's settling most international conflicts. Gas is down and so on. Is he delivering results? Are you pleased with him?
No, I would say he definitely is delivering results when it comes to illegal immigration. He's been extremely forceful in that area, so much so that hardly anybody, from what we've been told, is making that dreadful trek. And so that's actually a good thing. But as far as the economy and pricing, no, people are not feeling that. We are not seeing that, and I think that's rainbows and butterflies when you hear him talk about things going well economically. That's just not the case. Our stock market is still not doing well. The price of gas, it is still extremely high. Inflation at the grocery store is astronomical, and so no, we're not actually doing extremely well. We are in certain areas, but not across the board when you're talking about kitchen table issues.
OK, I'm going to bring my panel in now, Amy, if you don't mind. Political commentator Hilary Fordwich and the journalist and broadcaster Angelina Mackay. Hilary, just as to give some context to Brits watching back home in the United Kingdom, the cost of living here is very high. 2 coffees, this isn't a joke, guys watching at home, 2 coffees the other day, I didn't go through with it, of course, £17, $20 for 2 lattes. A baguette from Pret, I think it was like some tuna mayo baguette, £12, something like $15. That's real, right? That's true. Hilary, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. So, the cost of living here at the moment, Americans are really struggling. Actually, also compounding that, 10% of young white males are unemployed. The unemployment rate is high. There's been a flood of recent layoffs due to mainly AI, for example, Amazon placing humans with robots. But what I do think is due to the big, beautiful bill, due to the reshoring, due to all the reinvestment in the US, I predict, and I'm glad to be held to this, that in about Q1, but definitely Q2, 26, I think that's when you'll see the ramifications, the results of a lot of this. It's taken a long time to turn the economy around. Right now we're suffering. But if I could make just mention, because we were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene and the Trump relationship a moment ago, I just wanted to add one thing. President Trump has said what he did was he said he actually got to the point where he wouldn't answer her barrage of calls. She was basically ringing his phone off the hook, and that's when he cut her off.
And I think she published some texts between herself and the president.
Correct.
Saying release the files, release the files. I guess, Angelina, in the end, he did release the files. He told Republicans to vote for it in Congress, and he's now signed it off, and they're coming. So he's done what he asked of her. I mean, what more does she want from President Trump?
Yeah, I mean, but it did take this long, and it makes me super suspicious of the Trump administration. Like, that was a campaign promise that you ran on. Then you guys said there were files, and you said there are no files, and you're denying the files, and the files are hoax. Then we have to take it to Congress, then we have to have all this badgerment, and then finally Trump is like, okay, I'll sign it now. The DOJ has 30 days. A lot of people are theorizing that a lot of that content will be retracted, so we won't actually get the files, but now the Trump administration is saying that the files exist. Whatever is happening, the Trump administration is being deceptive. Either they're being deceptive or they have no idea what's going on. Either way, that's alarming for the administration, the U.S. presidential office, to have no idea what's going on. Either they're clueless, they're stupid, or they're evil, right? So it's problematic. And I would say coming around, it doesn't make sense.
The only alternative to that is that there's a lot of Republican donors that were involved. President Trump was not involved. He did not have a relationship with Epstein after a real estate deal went bad in about 2004.
Well, then that counters the anti-institution. Trump is supposed to be anti-establishment. He's supposed to be anti these monies and this corruption. So to say that there are Republican donors that might be preventing it, that goes against everything that Trump stands for or has stood for with with his constituents.
Correct.
Amy, is President Trump anti-establishment anymore? Because there was some, I can't remember who it was, maybe Benny Johnson the other day saying that MAGA is dead. In 2015, 2016, MAGA was anti-establishment. They were the underdogs. They were, you know, it was very unfashionable to like President Trump back then. Now, though, he's on his second term. They're in government. Is he really anti-establishment anymore?
Well, I would actually agree with Benny to some extent because, you know, as Marjorie also mentioned in her laundry list of disagreements with the president, you know, he's still, you know, making sure that there's money being fueled overseas in a number of areas, whether it be, you know, behind the scenes funneling money to help with weaponry and wars, to go ahead and bring certain groups of people safely into the U.S. and to keep others out, you know, to go ahead and, you know, this whole Epstein file thing, really, I think both of these situations dealing with anything overseas, if it's not America first, you know, especially in a lot of the devout MAGA viewpoints, then you're in trouble and you've done a 180. And that's exactly what he did with the Epstein files. You know, he was withholding. And then all of a sudden, you know, we all learned about this one representative out of Arizona who had not been sworn into office for it was something like over 40 days. And she was going to be the deciding vote. She was the final vote to actually make sure that it was going to be taken to the House floor. So once that happened, and it pushed everything fast forward, and then you had to have Donald Trump do a 180 because he realized it was going to happen whether he liked it or not.
Yeah, well, I guess he'd say if President Trump was here, he'd probably say, look, I've been focusing on ending these conflicts all around the world. I've got the hostages back. I don't want to focus on the Epstein files. And I think I've heard that on the streets of DC, Hillary, as well, that it's about donors and so on and people maybe close to him. Amy, talk about gas prices. Lots of our viewers are saying, well, how much is gas per gallon in the US? What is the price now at the moment? Do you know?
Well, the one right up the road for regular, you know, we have 3 different types of gas. For regular, it's $4.23 a gallon.
I don't know where you're living. Here in Maryland and DC metropolitan region, it's about $3 average a gallon. But if you're in California, it's over $6.
6. Okay, let's do. I've done some quick maths on Google. This may be wrong because I flunked maths, but so $3 is £2.35. So you're paying, Hillary, £2.35 sterling for a gallon of gas in the UK,
which is about 2 litres, something like that.
Yeah, yes. So 3.7 litres, I think, per gallon.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So in the UK, we're paying £4.81 per gallon. £4.81, which in dollars is $6.
Like California?
So it's double the price.
Yes.
So in the UK, petrol prices are double compared to here, compared to Washington, D.C. So my point is, to you Americans out there watching, you as well, Amy, I'm only teasing, but you're complaining about gas prices, but feel for us in the UK paying absolutely extortionate amounts for heating, electricity, and indeed petrol as well. Actually, Amy, when I met President Trump on Friday last week, GB News interviewed him, and we went into the Oval Office, and he was having a chat with us. He said, oh, how are you liking D.C.? How are you settling in? I said, Mr. President, the best thing are your energy bills. You get a gas bill through, you get an electricity bill through, and it's pennies compared to the UK. Right. The UK is pretty much a second mortgage for gas and electric. So although you guys are moaning, you've got it pretty good when it comes to gas, electricity and petrol, let me tell you.
Wow. Well, that I feel for you. That's got to be overwhelming.
All right, Amy, I'll let you go. Thank you, Amy Tarkanian, Republican strategist. Hopefully we'll catch up soon. Thanks for your company tonight. gbnews.com/your say. Let me know what you think of that. There were some comments all talking about petrol prices. Caroline, good evening. You said, tell me about it. I've just spent over £50 on basic food shopping for things such as butter, bread, cheese, rolls, washing powder, milk, soap, toothpaste, no meat, no fish, or anything for a proper meal. Caroline, I know, I feel your pain. It's pretty much the same over here, extortionate prices. And Sally, you said Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't once ask for the Epstein files to be released during Biden's term. She's called for them 31 times in the last 7 months under President Trump. Yeah, good point. Did she ask Angelina Hillary under Biden? I don't think she did.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but Biden, again, wasn't running on the promise to release the files, and that was something very passionate to Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was something that she shared with Donald Trump, that they shared together in order to motivate the base. And so then when she said, actually, I put my neck on the line for you in order to release these files, it hits a bit differently than compared to the Biden administration, where she assumes Biden is against her, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Trump is supposed to be on her side. He said he was on her side. He said he was against the obstruction of, he wanted this transparency. Yeah, so
that's right. That's correct.
Two more quick comments. Sorry, Catherine on your say said, Ben, that's crazy dollars for 2 lattes. Yes, I'm not joking. $20, £17. And Paul, you've said Amy should come to the UK if she wants to complain about petrol prices. Indeed. Hope I put that across. Continue those comments coming in. gbnews.com/your say. And of course, there's a brand new way to take part in the conversation by becoming a friend of GB News for free. Take a look.
Join the community and be part of our shows by becoming a friend of GB News. Get a direct line to join the conversations that you hear us talking about every day in our programmes by commenting on Your Say and voting in You Decide polls. Access opinion, analysis and behind-the-scenes videos as we share more from the stories that you see on TV and radio. Plus, watch our shows live and on catch-up anywhere, anytime. If you love our channel, become a friend of GB News for free by scanning the QR code or going to gbnews.com/friend. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be a part of them.
Okay, still ahead on The Late Show Live tonight.
We've tried interdiction for 30 years. It doesn't work. They lose 2% of their profit margin. They build it into the business plan. He says, now we're going to blow you up.
Well, they've been blowing their drug smuggling boats out the water, turning the personnel on board into red mist. But now America's poised to brand Venezuela's president a member of a foreign terrorist organisation. What would that mean? What does it look like? Does it mean boots on the ground in Venezuela? Does it mean, I don't know, the CIA going around Venezuela taking out members of Maduro's government? And should Britain do the same? But also tonight, here's a story you definitely don't want to miss. The United States has accidentally invaded Mexico. I'll give you the full details on that fairly shortly. This is The Late Show Live. Remember, no breaks. Back in just a tick. Right, Europe has rejected President Trump's Ukraine peace plan as the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has said he'll speak to Trump in the coming days but will not be flying to Washington with European leaders to discuss the peace plan next week. President Trump's administration laid out a 28-point peace plan negotiated between the US and Russia in private. Ukraine weren't involved, but European leaders have said that the plan still requires additional work. President Trump, meanwhile, has said he is willing to negotiate on the plan and that it's not his final offer. GB News political editor Christopher Hope has the latest from the G20 summit in South Africa.
The clock is ticking towards the deadline imposed on Ukraine to agree Donald Trump's 28-point peace plan. He calls it a peace plan, but in Europe and Ukraine, it's almost certainly seen as a surrender plan. This deadline of Thanksgiving Day in the US is really focusing minds for Sir Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister, and other leaders. They've met here at the G20 in Johannesburg at the E3 level. That's France, Germany, and the UK. Their leaders met, and then after that with Norway, Ireland, Italy, Finland, Spain, Netherlands and even Canada, all agreeing how to respond to this 28-point plan. They say it's a draft, not a final document, a basis for additional work. They all want a just and lasting peace, but they do say borders must not be changed by force. The EU members, the allies of the coalition, the willing, the allies of Ukraine, they say this: they're concerned by proposed limitations on Ukraine's armed forces, which would leave Ukraine vulnerable to future attack. Crucially for me, they say also that the EU and NATO members must consent to this deal. That to me is an attempt to put a break on this Thanksgiving Day deadline, to say to Donald Trump, you can't impose this on Ukraine without our agreement in NATO and the European Union. The focus, though, moves on Sunday to Geneva, when we'll be seeing members of the senior levels within the UK and other members of the coalition of the willing, national security advisors meeting with senior figures from Donald Trump's administration. That's when the talks will carry on, and all the time the clock ticks towards Thursday. The pressure is on for the Prime Minister. He'll be back in the UK from Sunday, and of course domestically there's a make or break budget which will do so much to define his record as Prime Minister. So both internationally and domestically it's a crucial week for Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer. Christopher Hope for GB News in Johannesburg.
Thank you. That was Christopher Hope, the GB News political editor, who, by the way, I love his tie. Fantastic effort, Chopper. My panel back with me, Hillary, Angelina. I'm going to say something here which may rile some viewers back home watching the Late Show Live tonight. Does Keir Starmer, who called President Trump today, we understand, to say, don't like this peace deal,
Right.
Mr. President, not great. Nigel Farage also has done the same. Maybe, actually, President Trump responded to Farage. But Trump has now said, OK, we can tweak it. It's not final. He's kind of rode back a little bit. Is that because of Keir Starmer? Is that his great international diplomacy we've been hearing about so much?
I would venture a guess it's a little bit more to do with Nigel Farage.
You think?
Donald Trump has a great, President Trump has a great relationship with Nigel Farage. He trusts him. He trusts his judgment. However, he has obviously, with Keir Starmer, he's managed to, both of them managed to be, I would call it political expediency. They've used each other, leveraged each other, got along with each other because they know that it's mutually beneficial. So did he listen to Keir Starmer? I'm sure he listened to him, but I think it was Nigel Farage who swayed him.
Oh, interesting. All right, so no credit for Keir Starmer then?
I didn't say no credit. I said it, but he listened to him, and I think that was probably the tip of the iceberg, and I bet Nigel Farage was the one that swayed him.
Because that is the kind of rhetoric we hear now about Starmer, isn't it? That he's utterly useless at home. I mean, everything's going wrong. His approval ratings are in the gutter.
Yes.
But on the world stage, everybody seems to love him, don't they?
Well, I don't know if they love him, but I do think, again, political expediency. They really want to be an ally of the UK, and the UK is beneficial, whether it's the Five Eyes programme, whether it's mutual defence, whatever it is, there's a relationship there, and I think that's what Donald Trump sees, political expediency.
Angelina, what do you make of this proposed peace deal? Ukraine forced to give up swathes of land in the Donbass, Crimea, but I guess Crimea Russia already occupy as well, so I never quite understood that. Also having to halve the size of their army, no future membership to NATO. Thoughts?
I mean, Ukraine's not going to give in. They're not going to give up to a territory. So whether or not that means cutting off U.S. support for this war, I don't know. We'll find out. But I don't.
As an American taxpayer, do you want to keep funding this war in Ukraine?
No, I do not. Yeah. No.
Even if it means Russia taking half the country?
I think it's important for security. Yeah, Russia. Look, I'm not a Ukrainian. I can't really speak on how they feel about that situation, whether or not we fund it. If they want to fight the war, if they want to cede, that's up to them. But whether or not we're funding that and we're providing money, again, we want to look about taking Americans, and I see taking care of Americans first before foreigners. And I see this a lot, and as you said, with even Keir Starmer, and I see this with the Trump administration too, they care so much more, it seems, about getting along with foreign leadership than they do about people at home. And Trump has fallen into this trap as well. Look, he's building a new ballroom to impress foreign leadership. He's giving out money to foreign governments, $20 billion to Argentina, right? So they're at this point where they really like to bring these, and Starmer in the same position, where they're more focused on impressing foreign leadership than they are about taking care of their own issues at home.
Just on the Argentina point, I think, Hillary, they bought pesos, didn't they? They bought bonds, $20 billion worth?
Right.
So they didn't technically give money, they invested in the currency.
Yes, backing them up, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so if Zelensky says no, he's faced with the prospect of facing down Russia and Putin without the help of America. Do you think Trump would stick to his word?
That doesn't go. I think you're going to see a little bit of movement on each side would be my prediction. This is not good for nobody's winning right now. Everybody's on the losing side. Everybody needs to negotiate. Everybody needs to come a little bit to the center. What do they say? The best deal is when no one's really happy. But I do think you should not reward ghastly behavior, and I think it's a very bad idea to give Russia as much as right now what's on the table. I think that's a bad message to the world, not just to Russia in this situation.
All right, time for some of your says. Ralph, you've said anyone who thinks Putin would carry on taking land if they get a peace deal isn't on the same planet. Russia is only interested in the eastern Russian-speaking part of Ukraine and was tricked into a proxy war by Biden. Judy, you've said, I wish President Trump would tell Europe and the UK to butt out of the peace deal unless they want to continue the war and fund it themselves. But he needs to make it plain if they're involved, America is out. Actually, Judy, that's a great point. At a time when President Trump and America are trying to sort this war out, lots of European nations are still buying Russian gas, including Hungary, by the way. I know Viktor Orban was in the Oval Office the other day and he's good friends with President Trump. They're still buying Russian gas. Germany as well. So it's very good for and easy for Europe to snipe from the sidelines whilst buying Russian gas. But I don't know, maybe do something about it. Paul, you've said other countries love Keir Starmer because he's such a walkover. Whenever he visits somewhere, Britain becomes poorer. Nick said Nigel Farage has more influence than Keir Starmer. And Glenn has said, what are you doing for Thanksgiving, Ben? Are you getting involved with the celebrations? I don't know, it's my first one here. So I guess eating turkey. What are we doing, Hilary?
Thanksgiving is like Christmas. It's fantastic without all the stress.
And there's a parade, isn't there? Macy's parade?
Yeah,
yes,
Macy's
that's in New York
City.
Yeah, that's in New York.
Yeah.
I think it's a great time to be with family. Here, the tradition for Thanksgiving is to have turkey, more like in England we have turkey at Christmas. But I think it's a fantastic tradition.
It's very common to go to church as well. So,
church?
Yeah, church is very common. Get your food blessed, get your pets blessed.
Oh. Get your pets blessed.
Yeah, get your pets blessed.
Just very quickly, for Brits who don't know what Thanksgiving is, because, you know, why should they? What is it?
It's when the first pilgrims came and they first arrived. They gave thanks for the first crop, and it was the first time that they were here, and they gave thanks for their health, and they were very religious.
So at that point, the whites were actually the immigrants here, and it was the Native Americans welcoming those immigrants, and it was a celebratory meal to welcome the two cultures combining together.
How the tables turn, eh? To me, as a Brit, it just seems like an early Christmas. You're doing Christmas twice.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you're
Christmas
a bunch of
without all the
greedy
stress.
so-and-sos.
Yeah, right.
It's good fun anyway. Right, well, let's crack on. Still ahead on the Late Show Live tonight.
We've tried interdiction for 30 years. It doesn't work. They lose 2% of their profit margin. They build it into the business plan. He says, now we're going to blow you up.
Is about to slap Venezuela's president with a foreign terrorist label. Wow, what does that actually mean? And is Britain next? This is the Late Show Live. Time now for your weather. No breaks though.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. A cold and frosty start across the far north of Scotland. Elsewhere, a day of heavy blustery showers, though we are expecting it to brighten up nicely into this afternoon. For most, though, it is going to be a very wet start, some heavy downpours at times. Eventually, any rain will clear its way into the North Sea, allowing it to brighten up across many areas of England and Wales, but there will still be some showers, particularly across the west, so a day of sunshine and showers. But across Northern Ireland, parts of Scotland, perhaps some parts of Northern England too, plenty of cloud around and still plenty of showery outbreaks. Feeling quite cold across the northern half of the UK, but highs across the south reaching between 10 to 12 degrees Celsius, so a little bit above average for the time of year. Still plenty of showers in the west to end the day, and also some quite strong gusty winds pushing through into the Bristol Channel. A very unsettled end to the day too across Northern Ireland, northern parts of Wales and England. Plenty of cloud and some showery outbreaks, and fairly similar across parts of Scotland too. So it is going to remain fairly unsettled as we progress through into this evening. Now, low pressure is the reason for this quite changeable weather, and it will eventually push into the North Sea, and with it we do start to see a change in our wind direction, so a return to a more northerly flow of air. So it is going to be feeling a bit chillier once again as we head our way into Monday, and still very unsettled, still plenty of showers across the country. Lots of cloud though, so remaining mostly frost-free for a time, but it is going to still be remaining quite chilly as we begin the new working week. So lots of cloud around to start, but this should lift and break through the course of the morning, allowing some sunshine to develop mainly across inland areas because that brisk northerly wind once again dragging in some showers, so mostly around coastal areas is where we'll see some spells of rain. It will start to feel that bit chillier once again, highs reaching around 9 degrees Celsius, so if you do see any sunshine, you have to wrap up warm to enjoy it.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
America accidentally invading Mexico, allegedly, because they thought they were in Texas, but ended up being in some North Mexican beach. But talking of invasions, the United States could potentially be mooting a real one, because they are preparing to take one of the most dramatic steps in decades on the world stage, because Washington is now on the brink of officially designating Nicolas Maduro and his top circle as members of a foreign terrorist organisation. Of course, Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela. A label usually reserved for the likes of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the terror designation will open the door to tougher sanctions and expanded military options. The Trump administration has spent years accusing Maduro of running Venezuela like a narco cartel, hitting out at alleged corruption, mass repression, ties to cocaine networks, and the suffocation of what was once the richest democracy in Latin America. Well, let's get the take of Dr. J. Michael Waller, the former CIA operative and senior analyst for strategy at the Center for Security Policy. Dr. Michael, thank you for your company, appreciate it. What does this mean then in layman's terms for Brits watching at home? What's going on in South America? And could it mean actually, Michael, CIA operatives, such as yourself, former operatives, on the ground in Venezuela? Are you there already?
We better be there already. That's the best way to prevent a real conventional invasion of a country, and we have to look care of our own interests on our own borders, or else we're no good to our allies anywhere.
And with regards to these Venezuelan boats, the drug boats, Dr. Michael, are you, just from an intelligence point of view, there's lots of criticism about the fact that we're taking, the American public at least, they're taking the word of the administration, of Pete Hegseth, that you have solid intelligence that these are indeed drug boats. What's your take on that whole drug boat situation and turning people into red mist in the Caribbean Sea?
Well, we have to do it. I was down in northern South America back in the 1990s fighting this war down at the plantation level, at the cocaine production centers, and it didn't do any good. So we have to get these smugglers while they're in international waters, not subject to any country's jurisdiction, and just stop them. That image right there of that boat is not a yacht. It's a high-speed cargo vessel that's designed for smuggling. It was.
Here wants to overthrow the government in Venezuela. Do they want regime change?
Yes. Yeah, the United States doesn't recognize the Venezuelan government as it is right now, so the Maduro regime is designated. It's really a cartel, a criminal cartel that has taken over government. So it has no legitimacy, and it's a threat to United States security. It's a threat to the American public, and it's also become a proxy for Russia and China, allowing Hezbollah and even the Iranian regime to operate out of the region. So it's a threat to the whole Caribbean. In fact, it's a threat to British interests in the Caribbean too, where you have members of the Commonwealth there that are being taken over by proxy already, and that's a UK transatlantic interest.
Yeah, talking of the UK, Doctor, I'm not sure if you saw the reports a few days ago, maybe a week ago, saying that the UK had stopped sharing intelligence with the United States in the Caribbean Sea. What do you make of that? I mean, is that a betrayal?
Well, anytime our most important ally denies us intelligence on something that's important to us on our own border, it's a very serious betrayal. But it's also an admission that the Starmer government had been supporting us with that intelligence in the first place. So that was a pretty good unintended admission.
Do you think the USA can trust Britain still to be a key ally, that special relationship?
No, the special relationship is really damaged, and it's not just Starmer and his party, the Labour Party. It's also MI6, which is so politicized, we can't trust what it collects, how it analyzes, and what it tells us.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. Talking of MI6, is it the former head of MI6 or MI5? Or maybe he's still there. The guy's got pronouns on his X bio. He's always banging on more about sort of trans Day of Remembrance and things than international spy operations or diplomacy. So, I mean, I don't know, make what you will of that, Michael. I'm going to bring my panel in now, Hilary Fordwich and Angelina Mackay. Ladies, any questions for Michael whilst he's here? Hilary?
I just really feel that, is this about regime change, and what does this short-term, long-term objectives from this administration?
It should be about regime change, and I think President Trump should be completely open about it, even though he campaigned against it from the color revolution side of the House. Yeah. This is our own maritime southern border, and if we don't secure that border and get rid of regimes that are poisoning our population, that are emptying their prisons into our country, that are sending criminal gangs into our country, and using, I mean, they even have an Iranian drone factory down there on one of their military bases. So there's a problem that's really started there, and we need to stop it before it immobilizes us so we won't be able to make our transatlantic commitments.
Right, Angelina, you heard the man, Dr. J.